get in there either.
Right. And so you basically can't miss. If an Iranian is launching a drone or a missile at a ship, you literally can't miss. The ships are too slow. The strait is too narrow and shallow. We can't even get in there. Karg Island is, I think, 12 square kilometers. It's tiny. And you have to know the Iranians would anticipate this. So you start landing some Marines on there, it's going to get ugly.
You're talking about the Marines getting them on the MEUs. I was like, this is a suicide mission if he actually does this. Like, what's going on here? And then the other thing, too, like I was trying to explain this, I was like, the only cards they really had left, realistically, was destroying energy infrastructure or a nuclear bomb. That's really all you had left. And if you do either of those, say goodbye to the Gulf states.
Yes.
Like, just say goodbye. They're going to destroy the desalination plants. No water. They're cooked. Summertime in the Middle East? Over. So I could only imagine, like, I was thinking about this. Imagine the Oval Office every day during the course of this conflict, like from Japan, from Indonesia, all these countries, the Gulf states, Trump, end the war. He must have had an insane amount of international pressure to end this thing, all of Europe. Now they got to buy Russian oil. Like,
right.
What's going on here?
Yeah, huge international pressure. And you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like we had a set period of time where we had some options before we ran out of oil. It's just, that's really what it all comes back to, is the U.S. really underestimated Iran's ability to close the strait and sustain the closure of the strait basically indefinitely. And you have this period of time where Trump thought we could bomb them into submission. Then it was getting too costly even for us. Bombing them was too costly for us because of how we were burning through the stockpile of interceptors and the damage it was doing to our bases in the Gulf. It's just too many targets. Can't defend all of them. So then we transitioned to the strategy of the bluffing, the economic blockade. We're just hoping there's some way we could trick these guys into a deal. And then, you run out of oil. That's it. It's the end of the rope.
I know Trump is a very difficult person to predict sometimes, etc. But if there's someone that understands his thought process, because you've been spot on with a lot of your analysis, a lot of your predictions, you've been spot on. What do you think his strategy was? Like, let's go to February 27th. Or actually, we can even go back when Netanyahu came the 13th time to America.
Right.
And he sold Trump on the plan. What do you think the plan was? What was he trying to do? What was the strategy? What did he think was going to happen versus what actually happened?
Well, you got to go back to really December, which is Netanyahu comes to Mar-a-Lago, I think December 27th.
For New Year's.
Exactly.
Yes.
And he came there with one intention. It was widely reported at the time. He said, look, we got to hit Iran again. We got to hit the missiles. He said, because Iran is building 300 ballistic missiles per month. And what this is going to do is it's going to make it impossible for us to intervene. And if they build up their missile stockpile, then they will get to work on excavating the highly enriched uranium, the centrifuges. Then it's off to the races. So Netanyahu said, we have to go back in, mow the grass, or defeat them once and for all. Trump goes into Venezuela that first week in 2026, extradites Maduro. It's this masterful operation. No U.S. casualties. We kill 100 of their guys, scoop them up. He's feeling good. Then you have those protests in Iran where they say 70,000 protesters were killed. It's the most violent clashes ever. It's just the number just kept going up and up.
First it was 20, then 30, then 40, then now they're saying, 50, 60, 70, yeah.
We've never seen that before, right? They never, October 7th, other things, right? Like, so it's like, think of the 100,000 protesters that were killed. And what we later learned, by the way, is that those protesters in Iran, it wasn't really a spontaneous demonstration. Where were the protests occurring? It was all in western Iran, where it's all the Kurds. And anybody knows what's going on is that the Iraqi Kurdistan, headquartered in Erbil, has basically broken away from the central government in Baghdad. That's where the U.S. still has all its bases. Israel's very aligned with the Iraqi Kurds, and they share a border then with Iran. So there were reports at the time in January that there were men dressed in all black, fully automatic rifles, taking over government buildings, municipal buildings in western Iran. It was later reported about a month later that some of these Kurds were armed by the Israelis and by the CIA to cross over the border. Effectively, it was an invasion. Mm-hmm. And they were trying to stoke or spark a wider revolution. They were going to kick it off.
While simultaneously crashing the Rial.
Yeah,
which Bassett admitted that we crashed the Rial too. He did that with George Soros for years. That's how George Soros became so rich.
Exactly. It's a great point. That is a huge part of what triggered is a big currency collapse and a run on the banks. You're 100% right. And so you had these huge protests going on into the middle of January, and that's when Trump was saying, overthrow the government, and they said that they were in the air ready to go, ready to bomb Iran, but they just didn't have the aircraft carriers mobilized because they were in Venezuela. So Trump mobilized the fleet, brought the carrier, the Armada, to Iran. There was another round of negotiations in mid-February. Kushner and Witkoff went out there. I believe the negotiations were held in Turkey or Switzerland or something, or Oman. There's a lot of debate about where and when it was going to happen. And basically the U.S. at the end said, look, you give us everything or else we're coming.
And it's important, too, because me and you talk. It was no enrichment, ballistic missiles neutered to like 300, 400 kilometers, and then no funding of the proxies. Right. That was the original three. Every Zionist comes in and says, no, dude, we just want to destroy their Navy and their Air Force. I was like, dude, no, you're shifting the goalposts because you couldn't get what you wanted before. It was no enrichment. But then they're trying to say, like, no, we just didn't want them to have nukes. No, it was zero enrichment. I remember that vividly.
Exactly. Well, and that's always been the sticking point. And that was the ultimatum, as we said. And the ultimatum even went outside the negotiations, because in the negotiations, the Iranians, they won't sit if it's anything other than the nuclear file. They don't even want proxies and missiles on the table. So they say that is outside the bounds of the discussion. So Kushner and Witkoff, because Kushner wasn't even part of the negotiations last year and wasn't part of the first round in February, but he came for this ultimatum and they said, we're not playing around. No enrichment, no proxies, no missiles, no nothing, or else we're coming. The Iranians said, forget it. And then that's when we went to war. And so I think the mindset was basically a combination of exuberance because of the success in Venezuela, as well as maybe overestimating the penchant to the Iranians that they're going to be able to overthrow the government. And then I think the Israelis and Trump himself undersold the ability of Iran to close the strait, their willingness or ability to close the strait in a sustained way.
You know what the most disturbing thing was to me, man? Like, the intelligence community told him, you are not going to be able to effectuate a regime change. These guys are theocrats. This is they're not going to, even if you kill Ali Khamenei, you're not going to get the regime change you want, man. This isn't Venezuela where you can pay off the bodyguards. Like, this is different. And he went with it anyway. And I don't know what the Mossad told him during that meeting, but he clearly had to rely upon Israeli intelligence, like you said, the exuberance. And the thing that's also the most disturbing is like the diplomat guy from Oman. Like, they had met on the 27th, and they had a framework in place where it was almost like a better deal than JCPOA, where they weren't going to stockpile, like they're going to get rid of sunset clauses, whatever. It was better than what Obama had in place, and they still attacked anyway. Which I'm like, oh wow! And it's like now, you can make the argument that Iran is stronger now than before.
100%. There's no question. And yeah, I think it is this influence of Israel. I mean, it was Mike Waltz was a national security advisor up until like May last year, and he's an Israeli operative, So these are the people in Central Command. These are the people in the DIA, in the NSA, the rest of it. And you're right. In the buildup to the war, I remember there were a bunch of sources going to Politico and the Washington Post from the military, basically saying regime change isn't going to happen, because that was like the tagline at the time, as Trump said, we want a decisive, definitive confrontation. We want a clean decapitation strike, knock out the regime in one go. They said it would last 4 days.
Yeah.
I don't even remember, but like that first night, yeah. They said 4 days, that's as long as it's going to go. And I guess they literally didn't have a plan B. Okay, what if it doesn't work? They close the strait and then they refuse to open it. Okay, now what? And that's literally the question we've been grappling with ever since is, okay, we crossed the Rubicon. You killed the supreme leader. You killed half the regime. You blew up all their stuff. They closed the strait. Now what are you going to do? And there's nothing we can do.
You know what kills me the most? When he says we have more reasonable people. And I'm like, the guy that's in power right now is his son. You killed his baby. You killed his family. Yeah. That guy's going to, like, he's more reasonable? Okay. Like, it's just insane to me because, like, they killed all the people that, didn't want a nuclear program. And then, Tulsi Gabbard goes on and says, oh, yeah, they don't, we keep assessing. They have a nuclear bomb. Obviously, she's a DNI. She has a better read on the intel than even the president. She's the one briefing him. And it's just insane to me that, like, we still went in, right? Because they asked him, I'll never forget, I think Trump was, like, on the tarmac. Like, what do you think about what Tulsi Gabbard said? She doesn't know anything. I was like, that's your DNI. Like, what are you talking about? She's the one that briefs you. Like, what are you talking about, dude? So, very clearly relied upon the Israelis and, like, the Israeli intelligence. And, what was I going to say? And then I know you're not a fan of Kent, but, like, he comes out from the DNI as well, and he's saying the same thing. And I'm like, well, these guys are, have access to some of the most classified information in the country, and they're over here saying, like, yeah, this is a problem. Why are we striking? Why are we getting involved in this war? So, you got people at very high levels of government that honestly doesn't benefit them to take this position, right? You like Gabbard had to resign. He had to resign. So I don't know.
Well, what happened with Kent was really interesting. That's like a layer that not a lot of people even remember. But if you recall, I forget what week
he was very pro-Israel. He was.
He was. But there's like an interesting connection there because I believe it was the middle of March. Had to have been, something like March 12th or 13th or something like that. The first government official to actually come out publicly against a war was David Sachs. David Sachs, who is very close with J.D. Vance, very close with Peter Thiel, very close with Elon. David Sachs is extremely powerful and a connector because it was at David Sachs' house where J.D. Vance hosted a tech fundraiser for Trump in June of 2024. And that is some of the value that Vance brought to the table, which is why he became the vice president. And so Sachs is like the consigliere for Vance, Thiel, Elon, also very tight with Tucker Carlson as well. He's part of that crew. He's a PayPal Mafia guy. And, he's better than some of the other PayPal Mafia Jews. He is a Jew.
Yeah.
But
every time.
And it's literally every fucking time. But so he was the first one to come out. He's the AI czar. And now the thing about that position is because of some statute, you can only have that position for 180 days or something like that before you go.
Because it's not confirmed by the Senate,
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. So he was headed towards that time limit expiring. He was on his way out. Then he got put on the Science Council, I think, about a few days later. But he was the first one to come out and say the war in Iran needs to stop immediately. That was on a Saturday. Then it was literally a few days later that Joe Kent published his letter as the head of counterterrorism. The following day, he went on Tucker Carlson and did this big interview. And I said, wait a second. So you got David Sachs, Joe Kent, Tucker. You got this triangulation of people that are now criticizing the war from inside the regime. Kent was backed by Thiel in 2022. When Kent ran for Congress in 22 in Washington's 10th, I think it was, he got money from Peter Thiel because Kent was running in one of those Trump impeachment districts. Back in 2021, there were 10 or 11 House Republicans that voted to impeach Trump. Peter Thiel made it a mission to primary every single one of those people, and Kent was running in one of those districts. Kent was in the CIA. He's a CIA officer, right? So I saw this triangulation of Sachs comes out first, then Kent goes on Tucker. What do these three people have in common? They're all J.D. Vance guys. Now, this war puts Vance in a really bad position because I think everybody saw where this is going to go. It's going to lead to an economic collapse, an energy shock, high inflation, defeat in the midterms. What was his
position pre-war? I heard different stories. Yeah, I heard different stories. Some was like, no. Some was like, hit him hard, but get out of there. What do you think his actual position was?
So they said that Vance did not oppose. Okay. He was in favor of hitting them. If you're going to do it, hit them hard. But he didn't oppose.
Because he talked about them literally on day one of the RNC. I was there. I was like, why is he talking about Iran? Dude, what the fuck? When he first got appointed.
He talked about it twice in 2024. He went to the Quincy Institute and said we need a pro-Israel version of America First where we give Israel everything they need to bomb Iran. And then at the RNC in July.
So punch him in the nose or something like that, if I recall.
Yeah, he said, we can't just do these, little pinprick strikes. We need to hit him really hard. And he volunteered that. It's not like they said, what should we do about Iran? They said, what do you think about foreign policy? He said, we need to hit Iran really hard. So, and then, it's hard to know because Vance has rivals inside the White House who are going to leak to the press to make him look bad about, did he support it? Did he not? So it's sort of unreliable what you hear because these are planted stories. But we know he didn't oppose. When the war started, he disappeared. He faded into the background because he knows when he runs for president in the primary in 27 and 28, they're going to say, war in Iran. What happened there? Energy shock, inflation.
Why happened to new wars, man? And you ran on that.
Exactly. Yeah. And what did you do? Why didn't you oppose it, et cetera? And I think that what happened with Sachs, Kent, and Tucker is they are trying to help extricate him from the liability of the conflict. They're going to try and give him an out. And Tucker's got this interesting line. He's been interviewed a few times recently, New York Times, with the British journalist, with Jack Neal, somebody else the other day. And they say, so what do you think about Vance? And Tucker has this habit of saying, oh, well, he's got the hardest position in the world because, we all voted for Trump and placed all our hopes upon him. And, Vance just has to do whatever Trump says. If Trump betrays the voters and takes us to war, Vance's job is to support Trump. So he really has no choice in the matter. Even if he opposes it and it's bad, well, what can he do? It's just so unfortunate. And what that belies is they don't want him to catch the blame for this next year. And I think now This is why Vance is throwing himself in front of the peace process. This is why he wants to be the guy in Islamabad. He wants to be the guy at Switzerland that's negotiating the MOU, because this is going to be a huge liability, a huge like hot potato they're going to have to neutralize in 27, because they're going to be asked like, okay, Iran war, what did you do?
Completely split the base, dude, this war.
Yes, and his answer is going to need to be something like, well, my job was to support the president. I had no say in the matter. You know, as the vice president, my job is to do what he tells me, but what I did is I brokered the peace, and I was instrumental in ending it and blah, blah. And then the endorsements from Kent, Tucker, and Sachs are going to become critical, because all these people that are furious about the war and are leaving the GOP because of it, they're now aligned with like Tucker and Kent and saying, oh, these guys are patriots. They're criticizing it. If those guys come around and endorse Vance, it's like, oh, okay, he's cool.
I see what you're saying.
He can't criticize the war.
They're creating his off-ramp right now is what you're saying.
Yes,
Smart.
they're trying to salvage him. So that, that's what's going on there.
So, no, that's very interesting that you say that. So do you think like that was kind of like the first, Sachs was like, you know what? Because, I mean, obviously he's a big Zionist, right? Like he benefits from the Iran war, right? Because he loves Israel. But you're saying like, hey, I still got to protect my guy. I'm going to be the first domino to kind of, hey, this is an issue. We need to get out of this war, etc. And then obviously trickle back. Because people forget that Tucker was one of the main guys that told Trump to put Vance on, wasn't he?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was Tucker and Elon and Don Jr. Some say Peter Thiel, others deny that. I think those people are liars. I think that Peter Thiel definitely had influence over that.
So much money, and of course he would have put him in. Yeah.
There's a lot of rumors. Some say that Peter Thiel basically left politics after 22 because his boyfriend killed himself.
Yeah, of course he killed himself, right? Of course.
Guys, his boyfriend killed himself. Threw himself out of out of the 50th floor balcony.
It's like, damn, bro, you couldn't get a better excuse than that one, man. Like, just say the Mossad did or something. Like, damn, like, come on.
Well, it is interesting because I've heard this story. So Peter Thiel had this boyfriend. Because he's married to a guy, but he had this boyfriend on the side, and the husband wasn't happy about it. And I guess the press is like hunting Thiel because Thiel's like a big Trump booster. So they are up everybody's ass that's like pro-Republican.
And he's a Silicon Valley guy. Huge betrayal. What are you doing?
Well, and he's like the first mover right-wing guy in Silicon Valley because everybody in Silicon Valley is super liberal.
That's why that endorsement in 24, like you were mentioning, was so huge for Trump, dude. He needed the money.
And even in 16, Thiel was there in 16, which is unbelievable. Gave him money back then.
Trump was like, people forget that, I guess people forget now, but Trump was facing 4 criminal cases.
Yeah.
2 federal, 2 state. The federal cases were, you had the document case out of South Florida here. That one I think was the worst one. I think he could have easily went to jail for that one, which is ironic. Bolton said, you got to kill those traitors. Now he just got convicted of felony. We can talk about that later. But sorry, continue on. So yeah, you're talking about Peter Thiel.
But so the press is all, Peter Thiel's in this war with the press because the press outed him. So then he destroyed Gawker because they outed him as gay. And then years later, they kind of were all over the boyfriend. They were all over the sneaky link or whatever. And we're not really sure what happened there because there's one story where they say the press drove the boyfriend to suicide because they were harassing him. Because basically what happened is the press got the boyfriend to say things in an interview that Peter Thiel didn't want people to know. And so maybe that would have invited retaliation from Thiel, or maybe that would have gotten him in trouble. There's one story which says that thus the boyfriend was so distraught because of these problems that he killed himself, or some people allege that, it's sort of mysterious. Maybe he was killed to cover up some secrets or something. Who I, honest to God, don't know. But they say that Thiel was basically so despondent about this. He sees it as such a tragedy that he just left politics after 22. And so in 24, he made some public appearances and basically said, I'm done with politics, because they said, your boy is the vice president. What do you think about that? And Thiel said, I'm not really looking at the outcome. I don't really care that much. I'm not involved. And so there are a lot of people around Thiel that say that he's just not in the mix anymore. I'm not sure how much I believe that, though. So that's sort of interesting. But I'm just saying that's what I've heard in that world.
I remember, I think someone asked him about lavender at I think it was Oxford or something like that. And he's just like, we'll defer to Israel government. And it's just like, okay, dude, all right, whatever. So I guess we could go right into, let's pull up the thing real fast with Lebanon. We'll show this video real fast of them striking this deal, because we talked about Lebanon and how that was really the only thing that we didn't have control of. And then, of course, the Israelis had control of it. And what did they do? They completely cooked it. We'll play this clip real quick, and This is them right here. This is Marco Rubio brokering this. And I remember they had a meeting like this a couple months back, if I'm not mistaken, which Rubio also brokered it as well. I mean, this is a big deal. It says right here, Justin, Secretary Rubio just brokered a framework agreement for a peace between Israel and Lebanon right here in D.C. America, Israel, Lebanon are all signatories. Immediate steps include the Israeli military withdrawing from small areas from southern Lebanon that it currently occupies. We could play the clip real quick. You put the audio as well.
God bless Israel. May God bless Lebanon. May God bless the United States of America and all those who pursue peace. Thank you.
They got a woman signing for Lebanon. Cooked. 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 Oh, man. Yeah, cooked.
Dude, I was literally going to say fuck.
It's cooked. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Nick? I mean, obviously with this deal, they're riding right now in Lebanon. Can we get the video of that, by the way, Mo, if you don't mind? Pull it up. Them riding in Lebanon. Like literally, they're going, and I think they just drove to the PM's house.
Really?
They just let me get the link. I'll get what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's really interesting because the 14-point MOU specifically says there's a lot of there were a lot of questions about what the MOU specifically said about
we
Lebanon.
can pull it up too as well. I have it.
Because initially, like I said, the Iranians leaked to the press that it's a ceasefire in Lebanon. And I remember on my show, I said, well, first of all, is that true? Second of all, what does a ceasefire in Lebanon look like? Because the Israelis are engaged in an air campaign in Lebanon. They're bombing southern Lebanon, where Hezbollah is forward deployed with artillery and rockets. But Israel's also bombing the capital, Beirut, in central Lebanon, which is where Hezbollah's headquarters is, in the southern suburbs. And so not only are they doing this air campaign in Beirut, but also in southern Lebanon, they also are on the ground in southern Lebanon. They've invaded too. And so I said, when the MOU first happened, is it a ceasefire? Does that mean no airstrikes in Beirut, but they can keep going in southern Lebanon? Or does it mean no airstrikes altogether? Does it mean no airstrikes and they have to withdraw? Or does it mean just no airstrikes, but they could remain in their current position in southern Lebanon? What exactly does that mean? Well, then we finally got the terms of the agreement, and the terms said national sovereignty and territorial integrity of Lebanon. That is about as expansive of a ceasefire as you can get, because obviously if a country's occupying your territory and bombing you, you don't have territorial integrity, you don't have national sovereignty. So what that means is Israel's got to leave. They got to withdraw, and they got to stop bombing altogether for the most part. So this was the subject of these negotiations in Switzerland last week between the U.S. and Iran. So then the U.S. is going to host these negotiations from last Tuesday until today. It was supposed to be till Thursday, but they extended it a day, between Lebanon and Israel, brokered by Rubio. What's interesting is Rubio gave a statement during these talks, and Rubio said in a press conference, he goes, the terms of the MOU say territorial integrity and sovereignty. He goes, well, it's not territorial integrity when Iran backs Hezbollah in Lebanon. You see?
Yeah.
He goes, because Hezbollah, that's not the armed forces of Lebanon. It's a non-state actor, a militant group operating without the assent of the government in Beirut. So this is what they do. They turn it around and they say, no, Israel doesn't have to withdraw. Iran has to withdraw. Iran is the one violating. So now read this 14-point thing with Lebanon that just came out.
Yep.
What it says is Lebanon has to disarm Hezbollah.
Quick. Pull it up for them so you can reference it. Is there a specific one? Make it big so Nick can see it. All right. There we go. Is there a point that you want me to highlight here?
So it says, number 4, Hezbollah and all other non-state armed groups must be fully and verifiably disarmed.
Yep.
That's never going to happen.
Never,
okay?
yeah.
Because Lebanon passed a law under pressure from France, the U.S., and Israel last year that said they're going to disarm Hezbollah. And they can't, because Hezbollah is more powerful than the Lebanese armed forces. And so Israel's been insistent that Lebanon do this, and they haven't. And that was actually Israel's pretext to re-invade and violate the ceasefire that's been in place since November 24.
Yep.
So the reason they have this memorandum, this is effectively like passing the ball back to Iran. And what they're effectively saying in this agreement is they're saying, okay, you want a ceasefire in Lebanon? Well, you first. You want Israel to withdraw from the territory south of the Litani River? Well, then Lebanon's going to have to disarm Hezbollah. And if Lebanon doesn't do that, then you're in violation of the deal, and we're not going to hold up our end of the bargain. So this is them just kicking the ball back to Iran and saying, oh, okay, you want to play this game about sovereignty and territorial integrity? You're going to have to do these things. And all that does is it just serves as a legal justification to remain in Lebanon and continue to violate the MOU. Because the MOU says Israel out. These new terms say, well, Israel doesn't go until all these other conditions are met. Oh, those conditions are met? Well, then we're not leaving. Because it also says Israel is going to remain in the security zone until the threat is neutralized. Well, the threat's never going to be neutralized, so they're never going to leave the security zone. Consequently, the war between Israel and Hezbollah will continue. This ceasefire it's funny how the MOU formalized the bullshit ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. This 14-point plan formalizes the bullshit ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, which already existed on the same terms.
Yeah.
So it's more of the same.
And we could pull up this clip right here. They're not happy about it, obviously, in Lebanon. The last video I got right here. Yeah, here it goes. It says breaking. Scroll up real quick to the Lebanese protesters surround PM Nawaf Salam's office, calling him a Zionist, glorious two-star Syrian flag at the rally. So yeah, obviously the resistance powers are not happy about this. We could hit play real quick and show. Yeah, this all over Beirut. You can pause it. And it's kind of crazy because it's like people forget the Lebanese army is terrified of Hezbollah because they have more influence. And it's half, I think, if I'm not mistaken, of the Lebanese army is Shia. So it's the military leader, I think he's a Christian guy, the head of the military, but he even said, I'm not going to try to fight these guys. What are you talking about? And then the other thing too is why they have so much support is because they have fought the Israelis. They're the reason why the Israelis have not taken over southern Lebanon. They were the ones, I think, in 2000 they successfully got them out of there. And then Hassan Nasrallah gave the famous spiderweb speech, and then that's why everyone in the Middle East they support Hezbollah. So it's there's no way that they're ever going to disarm because they look at it Israel's going to continue to invade us. If we disarm, they're going to invade and going to take the southern part anyway.
Exactly. Well, Hezbollah is protecting effectively Lebanon from Israel, and the other thing is Israel is actively antagonizing Lebanon with their rhetoric. It's the same stuff that they would do with Iran. I remember last year when we entered negotiations with Iran, the following day, Israel came out, Netanyahu came out and said, well, the only deal we will accept is if we blow up their nuclear centrifuges. That's the only deal. That's the only nuclear disarmament we will tolerate. And what this is meant to do is provoke and antagonize the Iranians into thinking we can't trust the U.S., we can't make an agreement without lowering our guard. That's the big concern, is becoming vulnerable. What Israel says about Lebanon is we're going to give them the Gaza treatment. That's literally what their ministers say. They said, what's our plan for Lebanon? Do what we did in Gaza. And what did they do in Gaza? They bombed the shit out of them, and then they invaded along the entire border and established a security perimeter, this buffer zone, that they have now effectively annexed. And they're doing that so that they can reassure the people of southern Israel that they'll not be invaded by Hamas or attacked by the rockets. It's the same mentality in southern Lebanon, which is, how is Israel going to restore confidence and allow the people of their northern settlements to return to the northern border of Israel? We got to push everyone in Lebanon 10 kilometers north inside their own country and establish that buffer zone. So, the Lebanese are getting bombed in Beirut. They're getting bombed in the southern villages and communities. So they're saying the only thing that's protecting us is 100,000 rockets from Hezbollah, however many fighters they have. So yeah, that's why you got protests, because and the Israelis know that. So they're permanently sabotaging a ceasefire here to sabotage a ceasefire in Iran.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because that's a good point. Let's pull up that 14-point memo because, guys, this one kind of counteracts the first one they signed, which is kind of crazy because you're right about that. We'll go through it real quick. The 14 lines. Can you make it big on mine? Okay, we got here. End the conflict and formally transition toward a cessation of hostilities. Israel withdraw from Lebanon in phases, contingent on evolving security conditions. And obviously, Nick, stop me if you want to comment on any of these. The Lebanese armed force will progressively assume full responsibility for national security.
Yeah.
They could barely hold the border down, dude. Come on, man. Hezbollah, and this is the big one, Hezbollah and all other non-state armed groups must be fully and verifiably disarmed. That's never going to happen.
Nope.
Israel affirms it has no territorial ambitions in Lebanon and will withdraw once security threats are resolved.
It's always
no
these
way.
little things like, well,
Yeah.
once security conditions change. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the ambiguity they're going to use.
Lebanon reaffirms the state's exclusive authority to maintain armed forces and declare war. I mean, that should make them feel better, I guess.
Right.
This one actually concerns me. A U.S.-backed coordination and verification mechanism will oversee implementation. Do you think this means boots on the ground, Nick?
No, I don't think so. I mean, because they talked about this. There's a word they use for it, I forget, but they established this mechanism in Switzerland for the MOU.
Okay.
So I don't think that. I mean, there's already boots on the ground, I believe, defending Israel anyway.
Yeah.
They deployed them last year, so.
Yes, like special forces and stuff like that. Yes,
Right,
yes,
right.
yes. A lot of people don't know. Yes. Both parties commit to sovereign, stable Lebanon free from armed groups threatening either side. 9, the U.S. will support and strengthen the Lebanese armed forces with assistance tied to verified progress. That's interesting. Let's see here. 10, the U.S. will lead coordination, international reconstruction, humanitarian aid, and economic recovery efforts. That's probably a big one why they agreed to this as well. They probably want to get some of that aid to rebuild Beirut back up because the Israelis really demolished significant portions of it. 11, Lebanon and U.S. will ensure that aid and reconstruction funds do not reach Hezbollah or other armed groups. Okay.
Yeah.
12, Israel and Lebanon will establish working groups to negotiate a comprehensive peace and security framework. 13, both sides will cease hostile political and legal actions to cooperate on the return of detainees and remains. 14, Israel and Lebanon acknowledge the U.S. role and express appreciation for Donald Trump.
Love it.
That one is just like, the constant need for Trump to be glazed all the time is kind of crazy, bro.
Yeah.
And Netanyahu knows this. What do you think about the Israeli elections that are coming in? Obviously, he's up for re-election this fall. Big deal. They're in the middle of multiple conflicts. I think Naftali Bennett is going to be the challenger. What do you think about that?
Well, so the elections have to be held on October 27th at the latest. And what they say is that some of the new polling suggests that Netanyahu has lost majority support, or his coalition has. However, the question is going to be whether the opposition can create a viable government. That's always the question. Will they be able to cobble together a majority of seats that are all going to be able to work together to oust him? And that's the question. I don't know if there's going to be any leader that's going to be able to consolidate. But, of course, it's heavily dependent on the outcome of all this. If Netanyahu is seen as weak, if he's giving up Lebanon, if Iran is able to normalize relations with the U.S., obviously Netanyahu will be seen as a failure. Because, think about... This is his baby. They see Netanyahu as strong. He's able to defend Israel. His reputation is not fully recovered from October 7th because a lot of Israelis put the blame on him. They say, you're the Likud party. Your job is to be the strong man and protect us. What happened there? That's one. And then two, so now we're in this bid
Do you think you let it happen?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Because that's what's justified all this, which is terraforming their periphery in Gaza, West Bank, South Lebanon, Syria, for that matter, Iran, Yemen, this 8-front war, 7-8-front war that they're on. And so...
You were talking about his political ambition. My bad. You were talking about the security and how he's getting hit in Israel.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's October 7th, but also then the whole idea was... Never again. How do we prevent October 7th? We're going to eradicate Hamas, eradicate Hezbollah. We're going to decapitate Iran. If none of these things happen, then Israelis are going to say, look at everything we've lost, which is to say we've been isolated in the world. Everyone hates us now. We've been alienated from the U.S. Was it worth it? If we haven't achieved those objectives in Iran, Lebanon, and elsewhere, then the answer is no. If anything, Iran is more powerful. The Hezbollah threat has not been meaningfully dealt with. For that matter, neither has Hamas. And so I think Israelis are going to look at him as basically a failure. And the more that it goes in that direction, the worse his prospects are going to be. So this is why Netanyahu is hell-bent on sabotaging peace here.
All right, guys, we're going to switch on over to Kick here in a second. I'm going to get off JTube here in a second. So let's get ready to get off YouTube. Let me ask you this, Nick. As someone who's like, you've been talking about this for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
One of the pioneers in this space, and enough people don't give you enough credit for that. How crazy is this for you to see it from the beginning, where it's like you couldn't even talk about this topic, man? Like you couldn't even utter Zionism or Israel or foreign policy at all with this stuff. You would be ostracized, looked at as like ridiculous. You're a terror supporter, or you're anti-Semitic. Like, how nuts is it to see like Israel being like completely geopolitically isolated? like the way it is now.
It's I never thought it would happen, honestly, because I always thought that was the one thing no one was ever going to talk about because it's just too. I mean, you know how it was even 3 years ago when we did the show for the first time. You remember?
Yeah. Demonetized, articles written on us, like Right Wing Watch, Media Matters, SPLC. They all came after us, right? Like look, Holocaust deniers, etc. Right? So,
and that was late in the game.
Yeah.
That was only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's really unbelievable how quickly it's all October 7th, obviously, but like it's just shocking. Not only that it has happened at all, but just how quickly it was just like overnight. I did this from 17 to 23, basically. And realistically, there wasn't a ton of movement at all. There wasn't a mass awakening, anything looking like that. And then literally all at once, it just flipped. And now the biggest podcasters like Tucker, Candace, Megyn Kelly, Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan, who's the other? Tim Dillon. Yeah. It's like literally.
Well, Joe Rogan still dances around it.
But, for the size of his program, he's definitely not pro-Israel, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
You're right.
And he's brought people on, he brought, Ian Carroll on. And Ian Carroll talked about like the dancing Israelis, and I was like, "What the?" I was like shocked. Dave Smith a bunch of times as well. So I was like, I was shocked when I was like, "Oh wow!" Like he mentioned dancing Israelis on JRE. This is insane.
Yeah,
this was like considered like a fringe conspiracy theory for years, and like now people are figuring out that like Israel had foreknowledge of 9/11, significant evidence to show it. So it's wild, dude. And like I said before, someone like you who blackballed, demonetized, banned everywhere, debanked, etc. It's like vindicated, man.
Yeah. I mean, it would feel good, but then it's like I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like at once it's very satisfying to see people say, "Oh, he was right all along." On the other hand, I'm not even getting a ton of credit. Like, a lot of people now that have come to the scene are like, now they're calling me the fucking shill.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when I hear people say that.
Yeah, and we don't need to get into stuff like that.
It's kind of crazy to me because they'll say that. I'm like, do you not realize how much this guy's lost about this fucking topic?
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking serious? Like,
it's nuts.
It's like a lot of times they'll give a talking point. I'm like, wait, Nick said that first. You know what I mean? So it's like it's crazy when people don't give their flowers or don't talk about it. So it's like insane to me. But it's like, I will say this, even though fuck the progressives and the left, I will say that them talking about this has helped.
Totally.
Because one thing that I've realized, are we off YouTube yet? All right, yeah, let's get off YouTube. Let's get off YouTube. Let's go straight to Kick. And, Kick and Rumble, obviously, cool. Yeah, guys, come on over. Kick.com/MyronGainsX, Kick.com/MyronGainsX. We're going to have, obviously, After Hours with Girls, too, with Nick. It's going to be fantastic. It's just going to be me and Nick tonight, man. Pause. So it's going to be a good time, okay? So I don't want to hear no bitching about anything. It's just, it's the Nick and Fit show, okay? What was I going to say? You guys switching? Okay. Damn, I lost my train of thought. Fuck it. We still got a bunch of stuff to talk about anyway, so it's all good. I was talking about the before I was talking about the shit.
Oh, the progressives.
Oh yes, the progressives. Are we good? Yeah. We're good. We're all right. Welcome to the show, faggots. Okay, now we can say what the fuck we want to say. What I will say about the progressives is, like, even though they're faggots and they're losers, right? Frank. Oh, okay.
Frank?
Yeah. His name is Frank. Yeah. He came right up to you. So even though, like, these progressives are faggots and they want us dead, right? They hate guys like me and you. They detest us. They call us Holocaust deniers and Nazis, which is cool, fine, maybe on Saturdays. But, like, what I will say is they brought an enormous amount of awareness to the problem. Mm-hmm. I've always looked at it like they attack the problem from like a humanitarian perspective, like, oh my God, they're killing people and genocide, apartheid state, or etc. Right? Which is whatever. But I will give credit that, like, because I'll say this, progressives are way more active than we are, right? Let's be honest. These motherfuckers will go out and protest like free Palestine, going nuts or whatever, and it's brought awareness to the problem. You know what I mean? So that's one of the benefits. Obviously, they don't attack it from the same perspective that we do. Like, me and you come in like, yo, these guys are subverting our government. This is an issue. Get them the fuck up out of here. We come at it from a nationalist perspective. And we also understand that, like, let's be honest, Jewish power creates a lot of problems. It's caused a lot of pernicious left-wing ideologies to kind of permeate throughout the country with, their expansive situation. Yeah, go ahead. Bring from.
Thanks.
Got to take care of the bro, man. So it's good that because they've activated a very politically active side, right? Because, like, progressive stuff, the college campuses, whatever. So that's good. But like, on the other side, like obviously they're coming at it from another perspective, but that has helped, I would say, because like if you're right wing and you're anti-Israel or, critical of Jewish power, it's like you're good. You're cooked. You're automatically cooked. You know what I mean? That's what I've realized. So that's one of the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely true. That's the thing, though. The left is huge. The left is huge, organized, active. And the difference is that the left is not captured in the same way that the right is by Israel. The right is deeply institutionally captured by the Israeli government in particular, the Israel lobby, such that it's just a different rule set. On the left, criticism of the Netanyahu regime in particular, that's actually institutional. Soros is an enemy of Netanyahu. Soros is out there, even though he's a pro-open borders, open society Jew, and like one of these Jewish billionaires that's ruining America, he is actively opposed domestically in Israel to Netanyahu's party and Netanyahu's vision, this version of Zionism Netanyahu's pushing. And so it's the opposite. On the left, you can actually remain in the institutions. It's actually maybe even a good thing criticizing Netanyahu. Obama was against Netanyahu. Biden had friction with Netanyahu. And so there's been an opportunity there for people to criticize it and retain their platform access or, career opportunities. It's a huge boon to us. And, there was a time, I remember in like 23 and 24, the left was very heavily critical of Israel. And you had a lot of people on the right who were pro-Israel that were saying, well, the left is criticizing Israel for the wrong reasons. They're saying the left hates Israel because they see Israel as a settler colonialist state. And
use all those left buzzwing terms. Genocide, apartheid, ethno-state, colonial, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They said, the left sees the Israelis as white people that are oppressing an indigenous population, extension of the British Empire. There's like a socialist angle,
Me and you
too.
both know they're not fucking white. Hell no.
No,
Jews are not. Anyone that says Jews are white, you're a fucking retard. Like, they're not white at all. And they'll even tell you, I'm not white.
Yeah, well, you'd have to get into what is white. It's European, it's Christendom, it's the fusion of those things in their civilization. The Jews are to find themselves against that rather than part of it. But in any case, the pro-Israel right was correct that the left was criticizing Israel for the wrong reasons. However, it didn't matter. At that time, it was just important to basically thaw the chilling effect, because the problem that we had is that you were simply like not allowed to say or think these things or, engage in activism against these things. He's okay.
Oh, he's not bothering you?
No,
Okay.
I love the dogs.
Okay, all right, fair.
So it was important for the left to say those things just to open up that conversation, just to thaw the rules governing that conversation. Now, however, I think it's a different story. A year ago, you needed the left and the Muslims, for that matter, because the Muslims, they're a huge community too, and let's just
very loyal.
Yeah, and not only that, but they're extremely numerous online. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's wrong to say that, like, if you're shitting on Israel, you're getting a huge engagement boost from the Muslim world, not just nationally, not here, but internationally too.
They've been Jew-pilled forever. And
yeah.
they're like, finally, America's talking about this.
Yeah.
Because, like, for a long time, they could never talk about it. Like, that, you knew it, right? Like, I mean, I grew up in a Muslim household. My family's from Sudan. So, like, I grew up like, Yahudi's, so you already kind of knew what it was. But, like, America had never known this shit because it was so suppressed for so long.
Right.
Like, you couldn't talk about it. And a guy like you come in and you talk about it. Whoa, get this guy out of here immediately. So, but continue. I'm sorry. So, you get a boost.
If you are in 24 and 25 criticizing Israel, and I was very conscious and cognizant of this. I remember saying things in a certain way that would appeal to liberals and appeal to Muslims, because then they boost the content. And it's like, look, if what we're doing is like a prison break, it literally doesn't matter. As long as the content's getting out there, as long as people are getting the idea that we can criticize Israel, like these guys are hypocrites, they're not beyond reproach, etc., it's just about changing that conversation. And it was okay. Now, however, we see everybody knows the score. And what is happening now is that the left and the Muslims are kind of using this to push their own agenda. So the left is using criticism of Israel to push their DSA stuff, their progressive stuff. They're using it to basically conceal and run cover for the other parts of their radical agenda. Same thing with Muslims. You see a lot of the Muslims now saying, anyone that criticizes Muslims is a Jew. Anyone that has anything untoward to say about Muslims or mass Muslim migration is a Zionist. That's a Zionist. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's not America first to have mass Muslim migration. It's not Jewish to say that. It's not America first to let Somalians loot Minneapolis and not deport them. That's not America first either. And yet the left and Muslims, or revert Muslims and the left, respectively on those issues, are using criticism of Israel to run cover for those policies. Hey, it's all good if tons of Muslims come here. Anyone that's against that is Jewish. Oh, it's cool if Somalians take over Minneapolis. Anyone that's against that is Jewish. And so I think now that criticism of Israel is mainstream and popular and, maybe the majority position, it's now important for the right wing, the nationalists, to assert our own position on this and say, now we need to start drawing some lines and say, listen, we may coalesce. We can create a coalition, perhaps, with some elements of the left or some Muslims, but what we are as a faction is nationalists.
Yeah.
And so the reason we're against Israel, it's the same reason we're against Soros, because we're America first.
Yep.
It's not America first to have open borders or to give money to Israel. It's not America first to have Muslims here that only care about Islam and Muslim countries. Same way it goes for Jews.
Yep.
So we need to sort of define and distinguish and refine our movement within the Israel critical space as the right-wing faction.
Yeah, no, and like now that the information's out, we can start to actually be more specific about the issues,
right?
Because like I said before, it's good because they brought awareness from the left, right? That wasn't there before because criticism of Israel used to be literally a nuclear topic that you couldn't talk about. So now they've made it a bit more mainstream. But yeah, we need to come at it from these guys have too much goddamn power. They are Israel first. They are responsible for a lot of the toxic isms that are in this country, feminism, progressivism, Marxism, etc., which I want to talk about that too with the DSA. Where do you see the Democrat Party going with this as far as this socialism move that we're seeing? I said this before, and I want to get your position on this too, and I'll let you talk about it. I think Mamdani winning mayor of New York City was the beginning domino of what we're going to see, where it's going to be a socialist revolution. I'm starting to see these establishment Democrats kind of not be as cool. The Hillarys, the Chuck Schumers, the Bill Clinton era. I think that's dead. The new wave is we're going to be socialists. We're going to say, fuck Israel. We want free healthcare. We want college being paid off. We want, they basically just full-on socialism, rent stabilization, all these things. And I'm seeing Mamdani do this in New York City. He has an enormous amount of people that support him. A lot of people that like him. He's using more of a grassroots social media push on doing things. And then I'm looking at a lot of top left-wing political commentators, right, on the left. They're all pushing for socialism. So it's I'm starting to see the Democrat Party really shift. I think them taking the L on the Kamala Harris campaign has made them say we need to take social media more seriously. We need to stop relying so much on establishment celebrities. We need to start giving people more free stuff with socialism. And I think Mamdani's kind of started this trend, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree. And, Mamdani defeated Cuomo, who was backed by the whole Democratic establishment. That was, you're right, the first big upset. And then he had this election on Tuesday where all of Mamdani's primary challengers, 3 of them in congressional primaries, won their races. And all of their opponents were establishment people backed by Hakeem Jeffries, backed by the labor unions, backed by the Black and Latino caucus. That is the institutional Democratic Party. That's the party establishment. And it's not just the social media, although that's a huge part of it. It is TikTok. It is the social media. But it's also that they have this ground game. They've got this unbelievable ground game in New York City. I was looking at some of the numbers from Karlin Borsenko. She's the expert on this. She sat in one of their meetings, and they said that when Zoran ran for mayor last year, they knocked on 1.8 million doors. 1.8 million doors. Wow. 2.3 million phone calls for phone banking, 3,000 events, 20,000 small dollar donors. That's how big their donor network was.
That's incredible.
It's unbelievable.
You know how many, and just so you guys understand what it's talking about, you know how many volunteers you need for that?
Yeah.
Volunteers. These people aren't getting paid. They need volunteers for that.
30,000 volunteers, they said they had in New York City, which is just one place. And the people that they got to register and turn out, because it's really just a turnout game. It's that the progressives are turning out huge numbers of people that either don't vote Democrat or don't usually vote in off-year elections. And it's a lot of young white people. It's a lot of young white people and these non-conventional minority groups, not like the old school blacks and let's say Mexicans. It's different minority groups. And that's just where the energy is. That's where the young people are. That's where the energy is. And that's their ideology. The young people are just ultra progressive. And so I don't know that that's even going to be good for the Democrats, because the reason they got their asses kicked in 24 is because all the big Jewish money left the Democrats because they were so alienated by the young progressives. You got to think about guys like Bill Ackman and Sean McGuire. Bill Ackman is at Pershing Square, Wall Street guy, Jew. He's tied with Larry Fink, who runs BlackRock. He's a Harvard alum. He's a lifelong Democrat and Democrat donor. But after October 7th, he saw at Harvard, his alumnus, at Harvard, all the progressives were like supporting Hamas.
That red pilled them real big.
Yes.
The Ivy League schools like having all these Columbia, Harvard.
Right. It was Ackman at Harvard. It was Ronald Lauder at UPenn. I believe he's a Wharton School alum. And so like these big Jews with like all the money and on Wall Street who previously were Democrats, donated to the Democrats, did fundraiser for Hillary, they all of a sudden, Bill Ackman signed that letter where he said the left has gone too left, they're too censorious, they're too woke, we got to shut it down. So he bailed. Then Sean McGuire. Sean McGuire is a partner at Sequoia. Sequoia is one of the big VC firms in Silicon Valley. Same thing. Lifelong Democrat, Democrat donor, fundraisers for Hillary. Same deal. After October 7th, he said, I'm out. Now I'm a Republican. So these are like two good examples because you got a Wall Street guy from the Eastern Seaboard. You got a tech VC guy from the West Coast. These are the two poles of power in America. And they represent Jews, institutional Jewish money shifting from the Democrats to the Republicans because they were scared off basically by the young progressives, the young white kids, the students, these like militant minorities that are pro-Palestine liberation, the socialists. And so the reason they lost in 24, where was the money? Like you look at 2020, so much money went behind the Democrats from all the usual suspects, from like Reid Hoffman, from Zuckerberg, $300 million from the Zuckerberg Chan Foundation, from Bloomberg. So all this like big Jewish money. In 24, it didn't show up.
Isn't that crazy? Like how October 7th, like red pilled the Jewish community and they said, yep, we got to go with Trump because he's going to go hard on Israel. He's going to give them more money. They really don't like how Biden dealt with them. Like,
no.
Yeah.
And they turned against Biden. I remember when Biden came out at that press, it was after Biden's special counsel report came out about his documents case. He did a press conference, I think it was like May last year or 2 years ago, and said, I don't like the way the Israelis are running the campaign in Gaza. And the New York Times editorial board totally flipped on him and were like all negative throughout the rest of the year. So the Democrats alienated the Jewish media. They alienated the Jewish money. Now, how are the Democrats going to get back? Well, they're thinking about running a Jew for president, like Pritzker in Illinois or this Shapiro in Pennsylvania, because they're going to have to reconcile the like militant progressives that hate Israel, like really actually hate Israel, from the institutional Jewish money that is like liberal Zionist. Like they're pro-Israel. Maybe they don't love Netanyahu, but they want to defend Israel from what happened on October 7th. So they are going to have the same problem as the Republicans, which is to say there's like a parallel dynamic where on the right and the left, the young people, the energy, the kind of ideological core is shifting there is very anti-Israel. And yet the money, the institutional forces still on both sides is Jewish, and they're still pro-Israel. So the Republicans are going to have, this is the Vance-Rubio divide, the Levin-Tucker divide. They'll have to reconcile that. And on the left, it's like, let's say, the Shapiro-Mamdani divide or something like. It's like Gavin Newsom saying he doesn't like AIPAC and then coming out a day later and saying, oh, no, I love Israel. It's making everybody a little bipolar.
And then he also said well, it's kind of like an apartheid state. So it's like we're literally watching like an incredible shift in politics in both the left and the right. And on the left, I would say it's obviously far more pronounced, right? And it's crazy because I like that's a great point that you mentioned. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. You brought up a good point that they were able to like galvanize this incredible ground game in New York City. Now, if they could do that nationwide, that's going to be huge. But but New York City is obviously kind of the rest of the United States isn't like New York City, right? Like Mamdani was able to win there in crazy fashion. Also, I want to talk about this girl. Can you pull up that chick that I pulled up, bro? The crazy chick. We were talking about this girl that won the 13th district. Like,
oh yeah,
what's your thoughts on that? Yeah, like what's your thoughts on that, man? We'll pull this girl up for you guys. Like, here's a clip of her. Chevalier, an anti-American activist who just won New York State Senate District 13, is an American of Dominican descent. She wants the abolition of police, prisons, and borders, as well as the seizure of private property and the nationalization of industries, basically communism, straight up. She converted to Islam and has said she wants to make sure her Muslim faith is reflected in the halls of power. And it's kind of crazy because it's like the Muslim faith is very conservative, right? It's like, what? Like, what's going on here? But okay, we'll play this clip real quick for you guys. And then here she goes, I forgot to get napkins, so I wiped my hand on the American flag behind me. Like, these people are super anti-American. We'll play this real quick, this clip.
I'm also the only Muslim in my family. I reverted 3 years ago. Actually, the friend who pushed me to do it asked me, why have you fasted for 4 years and yet you haven't taken your shahada? She's here today, and when she asked me that, I thought, that is a great question. And I thought for myself why I hadn't taken the step yet. But it was seeing how all of my friends who were showing up to organizing, who were Muslim, were showing up in the space, and the grace and love and passion that they had in these spaces of social justice, that really pushed me to join the faith. And wanting to make sure that we are reflecting that.
All right, we can pause it. But this is nuts. And she won in like a landslide, if I'm not mistaken. And the important thing is that she got the Mamdani endorsement. And like you were saying before, everyone he endorsed won. I think Bernie Sanders even came out and endorsed her as well. So what do you see is going to be like who do you think is going to make the run for president on the Democrat side?
It's hard to say. Everybody says Newsom, but I have
AOC.
I have the sneaking suspicion that on the Democrat side it'll be like the Republicans were in 2016. Because in 2015 when the primary started, everybody thought it was going to be Jeb Bush, literally, because they said, "Oh, that's the name everybody knew. It was going to be Jeb, Rubio, Ted Cruz." What's that?
Oh no.
And then Trump. Trump came out of nowhere. So I think on the Democrat side, it's going to be similar. Everybody's thinking about the same handful of names. They say it's going to be Gavin Newsom. It's going to be Kamala again. It's going to be AOC. I think it's going to be somebody actually that surprises us. And I think it might create a real schism in the party. Like, certainly what might happen is you're going to get a progressive candidate that's going to run, and maybe they're not going to be able to actually win the election, because you got to think the caucuses and primaries, they start in Iowa, South Carolina, New Hampshire, Nevada. These are not hyper-progressive constituencies like it is in New York City. So I think that you might get a progressive that's going to run. Maybe they don't have a real chance of going all the way, but then maybe they're going to make a bid to be the VP. They're going to make a bid to be number 2 or something like that. Maybe that's going to be the play. But I think it's going to be a little bit unpredictable, because there's another thing going on in the Democratic Party, which is these people are really frustrated. They were already pissed off in 2016 when Bernie got screwed over. Then they were pissed off in 2020 because Bernie got screwed over again. If you remember, in 2020, you had a primary, and Bernie won Iowa, then he won New Hampshire, then he won Nevada, and then Biden won South Carolina, and then it was all over. Then it was Biden's. It was literally Bernie was doing really well right up until...
I'm confused because he has a lot of the populist positions. So I'm like, how does he keep losing?
Because it's a political machine on the left. It's not a real election. So he got screwed over in 2020, but Biden won, so it's all good. Well, then in 24, they ran Biden again, and people are furious that, look at how that turned out. That was a catastrophe. Then they didn't really hold a real convention. So they said, we made a decision, we're putting up Kamala. They did it in fucking Chicago, dude.
Yeah.
It doesn't get more corrupt than that. It's like the DNC's in Chicago. I think the Obamas, I forget exactly how it lined up. I think they were not happy about that, if I'm not mistaken. I forget how that all shook out. But the party establishment basically said, Kamala, that's who it is.
I think it would have looked optically bad because she's a black woman, so they would have been like, no, she has to do it.
And the way that
they're run by race politics,
an open convention.
That's true, but I think
and
you could have
whoever wins, the way that you
and-
could have avoided that is have an open convention. And then whoever wins, and people complain, and you say, "Well, look, that's who won."
I think they made the argument it was too late or something like that.
Yeah. And they said, because the convention was held in August, which is pretty late in the game. So they said, "Look, this is just what it's going to be." But anyway, so the Democrats are really mad because of this history of the progressives being screwed over, and it hasn't worked. The Democrat establishment is just losing then. They lost this election in 24, and the progressives are mad that the Democratic Party isn't standing up enough to Trump. When Trump got into office, he had a big appropriations bill in March, which the Democrats just passed.
The big beautiful bill.
No,
right?
before that. It was an omnibus bill. It was regular appropriations in March. The Democrats were furious. And I remember Ezra Ezra Klein from New York Times, I think he's still there, and the other guys, they all said, look, the Democrats need to shut down the government just on account of we need to stand up to Trump. And that's why we had that huge government shutdown in September, October, when they came back from the recess last year. So there's a lot of dissatisfaction among the rank and file that the Democratic establishment's not effectively fighting Republicans or not opposing Trump. And so there's going to be this like very radical energy going into 28 that's like, no, fuck Republicans. We need to go as hard as possible. And I think that's metastasizing in this Zohran Mamdani, these people that he backed. And that they're winning, that they've got the energy. Like you said, that's that domino theory. People are going to look at that and say, look at the effect Zohran's having. We need to emulate something like that. We need to get the young people out. So I think that's going to be very powerful going into 28.
Yeah, and it's just like, and I see like this socialist push as well. Like it's like kind of like, I don't know. I mean, like has there been like a push like this for like mass socialism since this is like something that I've kind of noticed with Mamdani. He's like getting it pushed. Free buses. We're gonna do healthcare. We're gonna freeze the rent. He literally just did an ad today saying that they're freezing the rent in New York City.
Yeah.
Until next year. So like, I mean, what do you think's gonna, man? Well, midterms are coming up. What do you think about that?
Well, Republicans are going to get destroyed, and deservedly so. Democrats are back up to like 80% odds in the betting markets. They're going to win. 43% odds are going to sweep and take the Senate as well.
Let's talk about this because a lot of people completely mischaracterize your position on voting Democrat here. And I know your strategy. I understand why you say it. But for the fucking retards out there, can you please explain it to them why you have this position?
So you got to kind of work backwards. This is how I think. So the big game is 28.
Yeah.
Why? Because for the first time since 2012, Trump is not on the ballot. Trump won the primary in 16 and 20 because he was the incumbent. In 24, he's just effectively the incumbent. It's non-consecutive term. So 28 is the first time since 20. That's 16 years ago. A lot has changed since then. So what happens in the Republican primary is whoever wins that nomination is going to determine the future of the GOP because it's succession. Who succeeds Trump? Trump transformed the party, and so 28 is going to be a referendum on, so what is the Republican Party now? Are we going to keep going in the direction of Trump? Or are we going to kind of backslide into something more establishment? That's really an important question. Now, who is going to be the nominee in 28? Well, the party is already consolidating behind two people, Rubio and Vance. It only makes sense because the VP and the Secretary of State are the highest positions outside the president, so it only makes sense those are the people that are going to make the run. It'll be either one or the other. Now, in the GOP, the money and the endorsements and the party, they're already coalescing behind one or the other. People are making their decisions. It's going to be Vance. It's going to be Rubio. I'm a big believer that neither of them are good. Rubio's a neocon.
Agreed.
He's from Florida. He's been a Adelson puppet since 2012 when he beat Charlie Crist for the nomination for Senate. And pretended to be a Tea Party guy, and then he went for Gang of Eight with Lindsey Graham, this like open borders immigration bill. So Rubio's been a turncoat Zionist puppet from the start. He's a neocon now. It can't be him. On the other side, you got Vance, who was a never Trumper in 16, voted for Evan McMullin, CIA agent, who was handpicked by Bill Kristol to run in 16. He's propped up by Peter Thiel, who's in bed with Alex Karp, and all these other PayPal Mafia, Palantir guys. Vance is no good either. His chief of staff is a Tikva Fund fellow, Jacob Reeses, who's like a super Orthodox Jew. His girlfriend says, nobody worry, like Vance is going to be pro-Israel and everything. David Sachs is going to be his chief of staff, Jewish Zionist, PayPal Mafia. Neither of these guys are good. And what's more, Trump couldn't stand up to Israel. Will Vance be able to? Will Rubio? Absolutely not.
No.
So if 28 is so important, and if these are the two presumptive choices, what is the only way we're going to get anybody other than Vance and Rubio? The only way we're going to get anybody other than them is if they are basically dragged to hell by their association with Trump. Trump needs to be such a failure, so toxic. Their association with the administration needs to be seen as a liability so that a challenger from outside the admin can make the case in 28 to the Republican voters and say, look, this administration was a disaster. And who was at the helm? Rubio and Vance. So the administration needs to be made unpopular within the GOP, needs to be a failure for an outside challenger to have a chance in hell at winning the nomination. Otherwise, if the administration is super successful and everything's great, then Trump is going to endorse who he's going to endorse. That person's going to consolidate. They'll get 80% of the vote. There won't even be a primary. There won't even be a competition. So that's why I say We need the Democrats to be as strong as possible in 26. Why? The Democrats will win the House. Maybe not the Senate, but definitely the House. What does the House have? Constitutional oversight powers, subpoenas, impeachments, indictments, subcommittees, all that stuff. And what they're going to do, they're going to impeach Trump. They're going to depose the other cabinet officials. And what they're going to find is a shit ton of corruption, because this administration's really corrupt. Howard Lutnick, Kristi Noem, Corey Lewandowski. There's so much. Pam Bondi.
There's a reason why they all got kicked out.
Yes. And yeah, people say it's because Noam wasn't doing a good job. No, it's because the Wall Street Journal was onto her and what her and her boyfriend were doing with these contracts. That's why she got.
And the whole gay thing with her boyfriend as well. Yeah, the guy doing the weird shit with the gay. Yeah,
yeah, that was crazy. But so
continue on, please.
Yeah, so. They're going to find all this corruption. They're going to impeach Trump. And I really predict that this is going to make Trump extremely unpopular, because everyone's going to look at the larceny. They're going to look at what's effectively like embezzlement, and they're going to say this is straight up just corruption. This is just plain old regular corruption. It's going to make Trump super unpopular. It's going to damage Rubio and Vance by association, and that will create an opening. If Republican voters are sufficiently angry with Trump and dissatisfied, his endorsement will mean less. People that are close to him that'll be seen as a bad thing, and they'll be open to an outsider. And my hope is that you get a young person that runs in 28, a young guy, maybe Groyper adjacent, nationalist, kind of knows the score, that's going to be the spiritual successor to America First and Trumpism, and is going to say, look, like, Trump failed us. Trump had the right idea, but he betrayed his promises. He betrayed the movement. It needs to be restored. It needs to be fulfilled in a real way. It needs to be actualized. And someone that's young can maybe then even get populist and young people from the middle and the left. But that's our only chance in hell. And increasingly, I think that at 28...
What's the minimum age for vice president?
What's that?
What's the minimum age for vice president? I know for president it's
35, I think, because VP is going to have to be able to fill the shoes of the president. So.
What about chief of staff?
I don't think there's an age constitutional requirement on that.
I run, bro. Let's do it.
You're going to run?
Take over
yeah,
country.
all right. Yeah. Do it.
Chief of staff, my friend.
You're black and Muslim. No, I'm kidding. I'd take this over this.
No, it'll be chief of staff, bro. I'll put you vice president, chief of staff, whatever it is.
Hell yeah.
Bro, honestly, look, all jokes aside, but we need someone who has that mindset, is like, yo, like, we're not going to be run by fucking Jews. We're gonna put our country first. We're not gonna do stupid ass interventionism that doesn't benefit us. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, right now we should have no wars in the Middle East. But like, well, this Iran war should be done. But why is it not done? Because fucking Israel's not reeled in. And it's
right.
I don't think people understand like how bad this is, that like we can't control these fucking guys. They create so many issues. You know, they're the reason why people are paying double for gas. Like for the past several months, like people don't even know, like food prices, etc. Russia got stronger. Like China was still doing what they do. So I don't know, but continue on. So like, okay, so basically we need a strong Democratic Party to put these guys in check and expose them with the oversight, which
right.
A lot of people overlook this, because I wanted you to really explain that, because like people think like he's saying vote Democrat. No, retard. It's within a very specific purview to do it, to create an opening for someone from the GOP to rise up that isn't going to be Vance or Marco Rubio, because Marco Rubio is owned by the Jews, even worse than Trump, I would argue. And then Vance is like, what's he going to do? We don't really know where the fuck this guy is. Like, he's extremely ambiguous with his political policies. He'll kind of shapeshift to whatever he needs to do for, to get the vote. It's like, we don't want a guy like that, right? So can he stand up to the Israelis? Probably not. You know?
Well, and to me, it's really like what we're talking about is a hostile takeover. Trump, like think about it this way. Thomas Massie was the only Republican going against Israel, and Trump made it like a mission to destroy him. So what does that tell us? It tells us that you cannot be a Republican and be America first. It's impossible. To be America first is to be against the Republican Party. Not only that, Trump went on Truth Social and said Mark Levin is MAGA. Like, he's a genius. He's the Messiah. He's the best. And fuck Tucker and Megyn and Alex Jones and the rest. So, like, Trump is the problem. He is the obstacle. He is the impediment, because Trump is basically saying anyone that's America first is out. Fuck them. Whether it's Thomas Massie, Tucker, the rest of them. Everyone that's Israel first is Rubio should be president. Cubans like gold. Look at my gold Oval Office. Mark Levin is the chosen one. He's the genius, whatever. So you can't be a Republican in America first. It needs to be a hostile takeover. Here's the problem. Trump runs the party like a dictatorship. He's so powerful. Everyone's afraid of him. His endorsement means everything in primary
got
still.
Massey out of there, dude. It's
Yes.
like actually kind of scary. Like I was shocked at how much money. What they spent? $30 million to get Massey out?
Yeah. I think it was $32 million in total and $20 million from the Israel lobby in particular.
Him, Corey Bush, and then who was the other guy? The black guy?
Jamal Bowman.
Bowman. They, I think they spent like 10 or 20 million on him.
Yeah.
Like 10 million or so on Corey Bush, and then they spent 30 million on getting Massey out of there.
Yeah, and that was their playbook. They said it in 24. They said 100 million to get everybody out that didn't vote for the 4 and 8 in April of 24 when Israel was asking for it. So Trump is super strong. He needs to be diminished. That's the whole point. It's sort of like if you're going to do a hostile takeover over a company, you want it to be as cheap as possible. You know, if you're trying to buy up all the shares against the will of the management, you want it to be weak, you want it to be cheap, you want to buy a depreciating asset, then it appreciates. That's the metaphor I think of. So do we want a strong Republican Party in 28 or a weak Republican Party? If we want a hostile takeover, we need the Republican Party to be a weak brand so that we can come in and redefine it. New vision, new leadership, new management. That's the only way it's going to make sense. If Trump is too strong, it's not going to work. He's going to just suck all the oxygen out of the room. He controls the boomers. So he's got to be, I don't even know if I want him in office by 28. I don't think that'd be the worst thing if he got impeached. And then Vance is like some kind of, you know, he'll have a chance to become unpopular too.
What do you need? Like 2/3 of the Senate vote to get him out of there, right?
Or he could even just resign. But yeah, that's possible.
Yeah,
and I could
that'd
see
be
that
tough,
happening.
right?
I could see that happening.
I'll say that, yeah. You know, it's kind of crazy, but like, yeah, I would say he's probably the closest that can actually really be removed.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned all the problems, right? Like of the corruption, and I didn't want to interrupt you when you were going through it, but like you could talk about the kinetic strikes with them shooting these boats, right?
Right.
Like the Democrats, if they actually take over, they're gonna have a field day, dude. They're gonna say, "Oh, these kinetic strikes are illegal. You're killing these guys in international waters. How do you know that they're drug traffickers? What's going on here? The Iran war, that's illegal. You guys invaded. It wasn't even real, and struck them when it wasn't really a threat. It was a self-defense. What's going on here? They can attack them on the ICE raids, right? Even though I know they're illegal, whatever, but they're going to hit him on that. I mean, they had an enormous amount of pressure on him anyway, and he had to pull out so he could do this stupid-ass Iran war, stop the mass deportations, do this dumb-ass Iran war. They're going to say, oh, you went after your political opponents. You went after John Bolton. You used the attorney. You got the Epstein files didn't get pushed. You had Todd Blanche meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. You gave her a sweetheart deal. You moved her to a low security prison in Texas. What the fuck is this? This is a human trafficker. I think she's going to get a pardon before he leaves, by the way, too.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
I think she's going to get a pardon. So, like, they have so much, like, things that they can attack him on, dude. And then, yeah, you mentioned Howard Lutnick with the tariffs. Now they're pulling back, and he made a bunch of money on that. We're going to do a deal. We're not going to do a deal. We're going to do a deal. Obviously, we know people were making a bunch of money on that because he was fucking with the markets. It's like, oh, man. Like, they just have so many... Kristi Noem and her scandals. I just saw that they're trying to sell the house. They bought like a bunch of places for $700 million. ICE.
Yeah.
Now they're trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, right.
Like they're gonna have a field day, dude, with the oversight committee that you're mentioning.
Well, and not only that, but remember in January 21, Trump got impeached over January 6th, between the 6th and the 20th.
Yeah.
And Mitch McConnell was basically holding that over his head because they successfully impeached in the House. Then it was kicked over to the Republican-controlled Senate. And Mitch McConnell basically said, Trump, if you fuck around in your next 2 weeks, we will remove you from office. You could see a scenario where if it gets really bad with Trump, and let's say Trump goes against Israel, and Democrats have 51, maybe they got 49 to 51 seats. Are they going to be able to get 15 Republicans to defect to impeach Trump? I mean, you don't even have to go that far to think of some of the names. You've got guys like Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham, and you got guys like Rand Paul. They would love to see Trump go. There'll be fewer Republicans, more Democrats.
They turn on him on this MOU.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Tell him Ted turned on him. I was like, oh, I didn't think I would see that. But,
right.
Yeah.
So, they will hold that over his head and feed him to the wolves. And so, like I said, it's like we just want Trump to be super, super weak. Maybe not even in the picture. Maybe he get Vance in there. He'll get fucking destroyed throughout 27 and 28. And then, then there'd be room for someone else to come in. But I think that's the only way to salvage 28 and save it from a Democrat or from a terrible Republican. I think it might even be cooked. We might have to endure 4 years of a Democrat and get to 32.
Okay.
I know that sucks and that's insane, and I don't want that to happen. Ideally, like an outsider Republican comes in, runs, does the Trump playbook, wins. But you know what? It might have to get worse before it gets better because Trump is so... I mean, his favorability has never been lower. It's like lower than any other president in modern history.
Signal lost. We went down. Oh, we're good. Okay. I was gonna say the Mossad hit us. Like I was wondering how long we would last. You know, well, let me ask you this. I'll play devil's advocate real quick, right? Because it's funny that people say this, like, oh, you know, he's saying vote for the Democrats. Well, they don't realize that, like, people like me and you suffer even more when Democrats are in fucking power. Like, me and you were fucking getting destroyed in 23 and 22, 21. What do you, for the hater that might come in and say, well, you know, if we make the Democrats too powerful, like, will we ever be able to regain power? Like, well, you know, we make them too powerful, we're cooked. And you even said to yourself, like, hey, we might have to endure this till 32. But you look at it like it's worth it because the Republican Party is such in a bad position right now. Yeah, I do, because I think that, you know, this comes from the assumption that unless there's a radical intervention, America's going down the tubes. It's just a question of how fast. You know, look what Trump did this time. Trump ran on mass deportations, got the popular vote on mass deportations. If he can't do it, who can? No one's going to do it. He ran on it, won the popular vote. It's Trump. It's his signature issue. What he could get away with other things that regular candidates or presidents can't. If he can't do it, no one can. If no one can do it, it's an amnesty. If it's amnesty, then this country's over. So I think that you either have a radical change or we're going down the tubes either way. And it's like I'm not voting for more Republicans to like go the speed limit to hell. And in the meantime, they're going to fuck with all the Israel critics and groypers, and I mean, you know, they're putting the screws on us anyway. They say. Alex Jones always tells me this. It always freaks me out. He's always like, dude, like the DOJ is investigating us. He's like, you know, even Trump's DOJ is trying to fuck with me and Alex Jones. Yeah, I'm sure. So, you know, people say, well, we need to vote Republican to buy us time. It's like, who's us? Israel? Stephen Miller? Who's getting bought time? Like Ben Shapiro? We're not getting time. We don't, you know, it's the opposite. They have these like anti-Semitism boards at like the DOJ and all this shit. So yeah, dude, like it's fucking nuts, man. It really is. And it's like, and it's kind of crazy because, like, you know, people are very nearsighted. Like, I see your vision, but, like, they look at it like, vote Democrat, what do you mean? But it's like, well, we're kind of in a bad spot right now, even in the right wing, man, in the Republican Party. Like, it's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, these guys are very pro-Israel, and like you said before, like, Marco Rubio getting in would be horrible. That would be horrible. Yeah. Like, we're going to go to war. He's going to do everything they want to do. He's going to... Like, well, what would even be the point? I mean, 10 years of Trump to get President Rubio, it's just like such terrible. A disgusting betrayal of what this movement is. That'd be terrible. It'd be absolutely terrible. At least with, I mean, I would presume the next Democrat, if a Democrat were to come in, they'd be at least less Israel. But like, yeah, like the other, like you said though, like they're coming at it from like the wrong angle. Like, right. You know what I mean? Because like they're looking at it like, oh, look, that's colonialism. That's you know, all right, faggot. Like no one cares. Like that's not really our issue like that. I think the biggest thing is like, you know, you know what? Let me ask this. How would you reel in Israel if you were the president of the United States? How would you deal with them? Let's say you got sworn in tomorrow. What would Nick Fuentes do to deal with the issues of the Middle East and bring some type of stabilization there? Well, the first thing you need is regime change in Israel. I mean, you know, look, Israel's an open society, and so I think you would actually need American Jews to get on the team with America and exert pressure in the other direction. Because here's the problem with Israel. Israel's a nuclear state. That, at the end of the day, that's it. That is what defines whole reality. They got 200 warheads. And so here's what I mean. In a conventional sense, how would you constrain Israel? You would put pressure on them, military pressure. And we're already doing it. We're talking about selling F-35s to Turkey, which Israel hates because Israel's threatened by Turkey. Yeah. And you know, the thing is, Naftali Bennett talked about like war with them and shit. Yeah. Oh, exactly. And they're never going to stop, dude. They're never going to. The Pakistan, Turkey, but right, yeah, they could tolerate no rivals. So, I mean, in a conventional sense, that is what you might do: is you would strengthen the hand of their rivals to create balance. This is something they don't want, you know. So you have a carrot and stick approach to Israel. Problem is, Israel has nuclear bombs, and Israel is like a very erratic state. So they could very quickly destabilize the situation. People talk about Samson option. I think that's overstated. You know, this idea they're going to nuke the whole world. But, you know, would they use a tactical nuclear bomb against one of their enemies? I wouldn't put it past them. If they think that they're completely isolated, what would they have to lose? Yeah. If they're diplomatically, politically isolated, you know, they would go against every international convention. Well, everyone hates them anyway. So you could see a scenario where that happens. International law anyway. Right. Yeah. And, you know, they exert pressure on
on the United States. Also, politically, it's more subtle, because they control the power centers here. They got juice, and I say juice meaning like power, but also Jews in L.A. and New York and D.C. They got ammo here. So no president's going to want to go against them just because of the domestic situation. So the president would kind of just need like this wartime footing. Like we're getting ready to confront Israel. And what happens when you confront an enemy is you got to clean up. You got to eliminate the corruption in America. You got to target the disloyal fifth column here that's going to be a problem. You got to prepare for a tactical nuke going off. You got to talk to their adversaries that you're going to might need to balance against them. And then you're going to need to talk to the people in their country, see how you can destabilize or try to influence their political situation there. You would really just need like this full spectrum approach. We need to be literally on a war footing with this country to try to push back in the other direction and basically just assert control over them for the first time ever.
Would you, because I'm under the premise, I want to get your opinion on this too. I look at it like a lot of the issues in the Middle East literally stem down to the Palestine question, which Israel has been trying to avoid for a very long time. Netanyahu sabotaged the Oslo Accords, etc. And that's why the Middle East has the issues that they have. If you solve that, whether it's a one-state or two-state solution, that would, I think would solve a lot of the problems. Because then now you defang Hezbollah, why they exist, Iran, the acts of resistance in general. It's all really because the Palestine situation. If you're able to assimilate them, bring them in, and give them some type of sovereignty, well, that I think is the beginning of like maybe bringing down the first domino in some type of peace treaty. But he's obviously been trying to get around it with the Abraham Accords. What are your thoughts on like how would you solve and deal with that issue, if at all, if you were in the president?
Well, at this point, I think it's just not going to happen. Yeah. I think that Israel will never now tolerate the existence of a Palestinian state.
Agreed.
After because the security.
I think one state's the only way at this point, but they'll never do that too because it's like
no,
they'll overpopulate too much.
What's more, people don't even realize. When Trump recognized Israel's sovereignty over Jerusalem, that was kind of the beginning of the end because it's like that was
Heights.
also
the Golan Heights too,
and the Golan Heights as well. But the West Bank, it's like Israel is creating settlements that are just dividing up the West Bank, so it's never going to be a coherent whole. They took Jerusalem. That's really what Al-Aqsa flood was about, which is what kicked the whole thing off. Is Israel asserting control over the temple and over the whole city? So I think those people they're going to get pushed out of Gaza eventually. Israel's going to assert control over the West Bank, maybe push those people into Jordan or just try to choke them out gradually. These settlements are going to strangle all the different Palestinian settlements. And so I think that's just not going to happen. And you're right. Every question runs through that, which is to say, how do we get Saudi Arabia in the Abraham Accords? You need a Palestinian state. How do you get the U.S. out of the Middle East? You need Saudi Arabia and Israel to normalize relations. You need an Abraham alliance to balance Iran. In the absence of that, what do you do about Iran? You got to do regime change. It's like, so everything's contingent on everything else. And yeah, so I think the opportunity's been blown. Israel's never leaving the Golan. Israel's never leaving southern Lebanon. And fundamentally, that's a security thing. Syria can't fight Israel. They can't because they don't have control over the whole country. Israel destroyed their military, 15 years of civil war. Same thing with Lebanon. They cannot repel or resist Israel. They don't have the power. Only Hezbollah does. So, those are the types of things.
They're going to definitely kill Jolani, too, at some point.
Yeah. If he
not now while Trump's in, but I think once Trump's out, Israel's going to get rid of him.
If he succeeds, if he demonstrates autonomy, if he consolidates the country, then they'll probably take him out because they don't want Syria to be unified.
Hell no, because that would be a huge threat for them as well because they don't like them either. So it's like, I've just realized like the only thing that you can really do because I agree with you, the two-state solution they never want that because that would mean they'd have to have their own military, like it'd be a problem. But then I thought, okay, maybe a one state. But the issue with the one state is that Palestinians obviously, the birth rates are higher. So they would obviously overtake a Jewish state. That'd be a problem. So I thought maybe you can have a middle ground where you can have you can ensure that the Israelis have a 51% representation in Knesset maybe so they can have still some lever of power. But they'll never allow that shit. So it's like, it's just going to be perpetual war. So it's like, what are you going to do? And it's like, they create so many fucking problems in the region. Like, I would argue like almost all the problems in the region are because of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's true. I think they're going to create an intolerable condition, and the people of Gaza will just leave. Because the Israelis
talked about that. Yeah.
What are the Israelis going to do?
Where are they going to go though? Egypt? We pay them. We pay the Jordanians, the Egyptians to take them in. Or is that what we're going to?
Well, there was some talk that the U.S. would recognize Western Sahara and Somaliland in exchange for them taking these people. Or like Libya also, because like Libya needs to be unified. So there's like this arbitrage where it's like we'll give you sovereignty if you take the people. And but yeah, I mean, it's just a question of like there's two. It's like what seems more unlikely. It seems unlikely that Israel's going to forcibly remove like 1.8 million people from Gaza. At the same time, what are they going to do? Reintegrate them? They're going to build them a smart city and say, all right, remember we killed all you people? Remember we killed 10% of your population? Well, now you can be the servants in Howard Lutnick's new blockchain smart city. You know, it's like that's not going to happen either. So, you know, you look at what they did in the Gaza ceasefire. Israel took 50% of their territory. They pushed all the Palestinians into the coast in this tiny little enclave. And I think Israel's under no pressure to change that situation. So they're just going to make the conditions intolerable, and then it'll just become more attractive, I think, for those people to leave. If they could get Washington to figure out some program where they're extradited or, emigrated forcibly from Gaza, then they'll do that. And if some people stay, then maybe those people remain. But
yeah, they're going to definitely turn that into like a beachfront, like a Dubai is what I think they're going to do. Because, I think I've realized that there's like this tourist race in the Middle East to like modernize and westernize and like make money outside of oil.
Yep.
And we saw Dubai kind of lead the charge. They're bringing in all these people, no crime, very clean, safe, right? It's because nobody has rights except for Emiratis. They did immigration the right way, by the way, unlike us. So they have all these like things in place, and it's like people make all this money, whatever. And then I see Saudi Arabia trying to bring entertainment over. They brought WWE, boxing, etc. So I see the Middle East trying to like modernize them, find ways to make money outside of just oil, and do it through tourism. So I think the Israelis saw this, and they're like, well, Gaza's like right there on the front beachfront property. Like we could turn this into a smart city. We can make a bunch of money. US like, well, we could do that too. And then obviously Kirshner Wickoff, real estate guys, like it just makes sense. And then like now what? They control 70% of Gaza. There's no fucking way they're gonna ever let these guys like keep that. They're gonna get them out of there.
And they want it to be a hub. They want it to be a regional hub for tech, energy, trade, banking, all those things. And think about in the 2020s, early 2020s under Biden, there's all this talk about this IMEC corridor, India, Middle East, Europe corridor. How do we connect Indo-Pacific to Europe? We're going to create, it's basically what China is doing with Belt and Road Initiative. They're doing all these big infrastructure projects to orient trade to China with the new Silk Road. What is it? There's two different programs. One's a maritime trade route. One's an overland trade route. And so the U.S.'s answer to China's Belt and Road, to the new Silk Road, is IMEC. And so they said, we're going to connect India, which is supposed to be, that's going to be the anchor of our new Indo-Pacific policy. That's changing a little bit. But they said India is going to be the hub, and we're going to have trade from India to Europe, and it's going to go through ports in India, going to go through the Indian Ocean into the Emirates, ports on the Emirates, highways and rail through the Emirates, through Saudi Arabia, through Jordan, through Israel. All of it's going to go through Israel and then into Greece, Italy, and they're basically going to create this like trail of transportation infrastructure connecting Indo-Pacific and Europe, and Israel's going to stand to benefit from all of this, from all this money. And that's really the big picture, is making Israel the center of all the commerce in what they call the Rimland. There's this theory that this is like the foundations of geopolitics, that you've got really the world island, that all of geostrategy on Earth revolves around this basic fact that Asia, Europe, and Africa is most of the territory in the world. And any country that could dominate all of these continents is just going to have the most resources. And the country that has the most resources will just be number one. They'll achieve primacy. There was an innovation on this called Rimland theory, where they said that in order to dominate the world island, you have to control the Rimland, which runs through the rim of the interior of this. So what's the rim? It's the Mediterranean, it's the Middle East, and it's that route around India through over to the coast of China. Whoever can control that rim that runs through the middle of the world island is going to control all those resources, because they'll all be doing trade, and the commodities will be moving through the rim. And so if Israel is situated at the middle of the world island, the middle of the Rimland, and they dominate the Rimland, then that makes them the most powerful country in the world. Because you look at like the Strait of Hormuz, for example, all the oil that goes through the strait, if that's now controlled by Israel, that's huge leverage. Now what if Israel controlled all the commerce that goes through the Suez and all the overland pipelines and trade routes running through the Middle East?
Incredible geopolitical leverage.
It's huge. So, situated in the middle of it all, what they want is like a they want like a world government run through Jerusalem at the center of these three continents, at the intersection of all of them. That's like their big picture.
That's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Let me ask you about this, because I don't think I've ever seen anyone like get your take on this. China. What are your thoughts on China? Whether adversarial, their economy, are they a big threat for us? What are your thoughts in general when it comes to China?
Yeah, they're probably our number one geopolitical threat, and but I like Trump's approach, which is engaging them on the basis as a rival rather than an adversary. The relationship doesn't necessarily need to be hostile or adversarial. It could just be competitive. And so if we can engage with China on issues where we can collaborate, like on bilateral trade and on counterterrorism and things like that, I think it could be productive. But it's no question that they're going to be the number one rival. And I think that that's why we should probably thaw relations with Russia. Russia and China are actually natural adversaries. Russia's clearly in decline, terminal decline. So I think that, if we can extricate ourselves from Eastern Europe, we could actually lean on Russia and kind of balance. In the same way that Nixon had China against Russia, we could have Russia against China. We could work with India. But yeah, China's going to be probably the number one rival, and they're a big threat. I mean, like they're no joke.
And I've you probably might agree with me on this. Like I've always a big problem why I get so pissed off and annoyed with like the Middle East wars and Israel and shit like that is because I'm like, yo, we're taking our eye off of like these guys who are very competent. Like their economy is rising, like they're growing very quickly. And it's like, what are we doing here, right? We got like dumb OnlyFans whores like saying dumb shit. People like we're graduating less engineers. Meanwhile, China's like getting stronger and stronger. Their military is getting stronger. And the thing that worries me is like they're pragmatic. Like they're dangerously pragmatic. It's like they're building infrastructure instead of fighting everybody. They do business with everyone. And it's like, fuck, man, like what are we doing here? So that I'm like, why are we, getting involved in bombing Iran, right? It's just so stupid. Let's talk about Russia. What are your thoughts on Russia with the Ukraine war? And what's going on there? I've seen that they've like ramped up the conflict quite a bit. Ukraine's been hitting them back pretty hard.
Yeah, they're losing. It looks like they're losing. It seemed last year they had this new offensive and they were gaining territory at the fastest rate since when the war started. And now it seems like all that is being reversed. And now Ukraine is really stepping up the attacks on Russia's oil and gas, which is putting a lot of pressure on Russia. So now the latest is Russia wants to bring in Belarus. They want to open up a new front in the north of Ukraine to ease pressure on the east. And they want to have, and they're already doing it, they're setting up these drone launch platforms in southern Belarus. And Zelensky basically said last week, look, if Belarus is used as a platform, as a base of operations to launch drones against Ukraine, we're going to start bombing Belarus. And so now it comes down to Lukashenko. How autonomous is he? Putin's putting the squeeze on Lukashenko, saying they're going to compromise some of these vital trade deals with Belarus if they don't play ball. Same time, Belarus doesn't want Ukraine to bring the war to their homeland. So that's the big question right now. But you know what? I said this when Trump got into office. Trump said we're going to make a deal in Russia in 24 hours. He said, before I even take office, we're going to make a deal.
I'll end that war right away, yeah.
And you remember they made some real overtures towards Russia in the first weeks.
At least they opened talks. Like, I mean, I remember Biden and them didn't even talk to them.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, they met up in Riyadh and they restored bilateral, or what do you call it?
Talks.
Yeah, they opened up embassies and they opened up this like
Met in
hotline.
Alaska.
Yeah, right. In Alaska, that was later in 2025. But even early on, and Trump was really making these very big overtures and saying like, look, let's just call the quits. Let's just say it's over.
End this war, yeah.
But they said
Zelensky, you don't have the cards, remember?
Right, yeah.
Fought with him in the White House.
Yeah. Well, and Trump was pushing this like truce. Give us a 30-day truce. It's kind of the same thing in Iran. And Russia said 30-day truce. So what? So that you can rearm Ukraine. Like Ukraine is losing. Ukraine is losing. Of course you want to call a timeout. You want to call a timeout because you're getting destroyed. You want to rearm, and then you're going to start the war all over again. Zelensky was saying, we're not even going to agree to a long-term agreement unless we get a NATO security guarantee. Russia said that's why we started the war. So so that's where it was last year. And I remember saying, like, on some level, what can Trump really do? Unfortunately, once you're in the war, you're in. And people can say, we wish we weren't in the war. We wish we could just stop supporting Ukraine. But it doesn't kind of really work that way because Russia has a vote too. And if you just, let's say you stop supporting Ukraine altogether, then Russia just blitzes Ukraine. Ukraine's done. And then, let's say Russia's going to try to exert influence elsewhere in Moldova, in the Baltic states. It's like, so when you're dealing in a great power competition, you actually can't afford to take your foot off the gas because it is deterrence. It is a constant threat of force and tripwires, which is what is constraining these rival powers. The second you say, you know what, let's just let Russia have it. They earned it. We're done fighting. Russia's going to keep pushing. So I said, in other words, back then, if you want an agreement, you actually need to keep up the pressure on Russia. You actually maybe even need to push harder against Russia to convince them that war is no longer profitable. In other words, if Russia thinks we're getting as much as we can, like we've gone as far as we're capable of doing, we're exhausted militarily, then they're going to be more willing to say, all right, there's nothing more to be gained here. Now we're willing to call it off. So, I think actually this situation where Ukraine is winning, it makes it more likely there might be a deal because military action is less profitable for Russia.
Yeah, I mean, last I checked, Russia was controlling roughly 22% or so of Ukraine. Have they reeled some of that back, or
not at all? I mean, it's just
okay.
so
they're still holding the territory, but
yeah.
as far as they're not moving anymore.
Right. It's been minuscule from the start. They wanted the whole country. They lie and they say, "Oh, it's special military operation. We never wanted all of it." Really? Then why'd you go for Kiev? Then why'd you try to bomb the airport? Obviously, they thought the government would collapse. And now they're just trying to take everything east of the Dnieper River. And
I think Zelensky kind of got a sense of urgency with this Iran war because Russia was making money hand over fist, man. Because they lifted the sanctions and and then Iran bombed Qatar and destroyed LNG, so they needed Russia gas and oil again. So it's and it's the EU almost capitulate. Oh, we have these sanctions, but we need your oil. So it's oh shit. No man, what time is it? What 10:30? Are the girls here or what's the deal? I've been here. Okay. What? They're all here? Is Chris here? Chris hasn't walked in. We'll go a little bit. Do you have chats? We could read some chats. Yeah. Give Nick a break. Let's see here. We got for the movement. Appreciate you, my friend. $100. $100. Appreciate you, my friend. Russell Vicky says, I want to raise my hat to you, Myron. You're fair and true to your character debating lying Zionist. By the way, he also lied about Iran admitting being nukes. I found a video. The only stated... Yeah, dude, he lied the entire debate. They only stated they can make them if they want, but there is no desire to do so because they had outsmarted the ballistic systems. Also unify everyone on the right. Hello, Nick. This is epic. I appreciate you, bro. Yeah. Dude, he lied throughout the entire debate. That's why I'm he lost because he lied. If you have to lie during a debate, you lost. And then he just kept lying. 100% agree and on board. We must distinguish ourselves from the left in our criticism of Israel and our occupied state. We are America First nationalists, right wing, and we are taking our own side. You got to do it, man. You got to do it. W. Nick Lab, friendly reminder to all the fear says that zero excuse to have fat belly loss. Fat loss is extremely predictable. You guys drop the link in there from in the chat. Guys, get one chest if you guys don't want to be fat pieces of shit. Nick, how do you feel about a large majority of Hispanics and younger Hispanics follow you and the America First movement?
They're my people. It's so funny because it's dude, Mexicans love me.
Yeah.
Those are the people that recognize. I will go to a Mexican restaurant.
Racist. I love them because they're the most racist. They hate
don't
the
like blacks.
Yeah, they don't like blacks.
And they're not woke like white people, sadly. And I'm not to say that to be anti-white, but white people are so fucking woke.
They're cucked, bro.
Yeah, so Mexicans, they fucking love me in Chicago.
Yeah. Shout out to you guys. Never mind, W. Nick, W. Clab. Realest Nickers alive. You know it, bro. We are the realest niggas. The Bang Ev and the Wang Ev, let's fucking go. I got y'all, man. I know you guys have been waiting for this collab for a minute. Mala Baby Grace Show, appreciate you, my friend. What else do we got here? That's it? Cool. And then I'm trying to think here, because I wrote a whole list here. Cuba. You want to talk about Cuba? Or we got Cuba, you strike it today. We talked about that. Yeah, Cuba. You want to talk about Cuba?
Yeah, we could. I mean, I like all the geopolitical stuff. That's
we've been covering a lot. Or did you want to talk about female bitches in Montreal?
Or Toronto.
Or Toronto.
The terrorist attack.
We can talk about, which one do you want? Cuba or do you want to talk
Toronto thing is so funny to me. We got to.
You want to talk? Okay, let's do it. Let's pull up the clip real quick of the it's like a crazy situation. It's like some radical leftist is shooting up a place. I guess he was against porn?
Yeah. He was against It's actually, his manifesto is really interesting.
Okay, what was he saying?
He's saying that capitalism is inherently hypergamous. Yeah. He says,
Okay.
like, the capitalist West has inherently created the situation where, like, unattractive men are not going to have access to sex and romance. He says we should be more communitarian, more like the Confucians.
We got to divide the bitches up.
Yeah,
Fairly.
yeah, literally.
You can't have the Chads having all the women.
Redistribute the pussy is what I mean. Redistribution of foids. And so he like shot up Pornhub. I don't know if it was to kill. I think it was to kill the executive of the company. And I don't believe he even killed any. I didn't read too much about it, but I don't know if he killed anybody.
We'll get the clip up right now.
Yeah, then the female
Just type
cop
in like
pulled up.
type in like Montreal shooting or something like that. You'll see it. We'll get the clip. Because people forget that like Pornhub is owned by MindGeek, which is a Canadian company. So like so that makes sense that they would be based out of Montreal. Yeah. It is the one with the female officer, out of Montreal. And then, actually, what the fuck happened to her? Like, did she go to jail? Like, or
I don't know.
because she like shot, she shot like the rabbi. Yeah, here it is right here. So, and it's kind of crazy. We can make it big here. The female cops, dude, are nuts.
Why is he walking?
So
What
this
is
old guy's
wrong
there,
with
and then
him?
pause. Like he just walks right by that guy. Like what's going
Yeah.
on here? I was like, wait, all right, what's going? What the fuck? So he goes by, and then he comes over, and he starts shooting at them.
Guys, what the fuck?
So he
They're
kills
just
the guy
shooting the cops.
immediately. Takes cover.
Holy shit.
Looks like there's some return fire.
Oh my god.
The guy
Oh my
dies,
god,
and
oh
then
my god,
she
oh my
looks,
god.
boom, shoots him probably in the head. I'm assuming, like
What
one
the
shot,
fuck? What the fuck?
and then he moves towards her.
Why is he walking?
And then I think she was able to get away, and like they killed him eventually. But and apparently that guy was a rabbi.
Yeah. Which
So-
is sad. I mean, it's tragic.
Yeah.
But there is, because obviously every death is a tragedy. It sucks that happened, but it is hilarious that a civilian gets shot at Pornhub.
Yeah.
He's a Jewish rabbi. It's like of all the
What are the chances?
what a coincidence.
And by a female cop.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
oh,
Whoops.
it's like memes on memes on memes on like
Yeah.
Because I've talked about this before. I don't think women should be police officers at all.
No.
They just don't have the ability to like subdue a person. Like they just don't. Like there's like so many videos of like women just getting like fucked up or like they can't tackle the guy or they get in bad shootings or just gross use of judgment when it comes to firing or using force. It's just like it just doesn't work, man. It just doesn't work. Like you can't.
Well, and, when they first reported on this, they said it was like an anti-Semitic killing because it was a Jewish guy that got shot. And then it turns out like, no,
She
he
didn't know.
just got caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, he got caught in a crossfire. And look, to be fair, she just got shot. Her partner gets killed in front of her, right? But that's insane. Like for her to just like she didn't even like think twice. Like
You could kind of see though from that video, she probably thought the shooter was running up on her.
Yeah,
and
she probably did. Yeah, she probably did. But yeah, like that's just insane. That's what went down. And again, would have a guy cop maybe done the same thing? Who knows? But when it comes to women, dude, they just should not be police officers, especially like on patrol. There's a video because I know you watch like the body cam stuff all the time.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
like
yeah.
me. Okay, type in police activity, and then we could put in like something with a guy with a knife, and we could read some chats if needed on here beforehand. And shout out to all you guys watching on Kick and Rumble and everything else like that. But yeah, female cops, dude. Yeah, type in police activity like knife, and I'll show you like this clip. It's like
Did it happen in Michigan? Grand Rapids,
happened
Michigan?
in New York. Happened in New York. It might be a little bit older. And I call it monkey activity now at this point because it's always like black people acting like fucking retards on there, dude. What are your thoughts on the Carmelo Anthony case? Because I know that you were obviously very vocal about that. What happened with Austin Metcalf? Obviously went to trial. They released the fucking footage. What are your general thoughts on that?
Well, people are just sick of seeing this kind of. It's just like these things happen all the time now. It's Carmelo Anthony, and then it was Irina Zarutska, and then it was that guy in the UK that got stabbed by the Sikh, and then there was another one just in France. This kid named Louis got killed by a group of 10 Africans beat this young 18-year-old, 17-year-old kid to death. So people just say, hey, man, what the fuck? Like, we're tired of seeing white people getting beat to death and stabbed and shot by black people for no reason. And then what's more, it's not just that happens. It's that then the black community rallies.
Yeah.
Carmelo Anthony it's like, look.
Raised up so much money, like $600K,
800, I think it was
yeah.
in the end. Maybe it was 600, but it's like, And then they protested outside the courthouse. They said, free Carmelo. They said, this is what happens when white people put hands on black people. Oh, they get stabbed in the heart at a fucking football meeting. It's
and
insane.
they should release the footage. You couldn't even, like, bro, it was like the hand like went like this, and then like knife right away. Just water. Kiara, just water.
Who?
No.
In the...
No. Oh, you're talking about the police activity video? No, he didn't cut off his hand. No, not that one, not that one. Just, yeah. You can just pull up the channel, fuck it, and I'll just we'll go through it. But yeah, no, I mean, dude, I've been talking about this. Black fatigue is through the roof, man.
Yeah.
And you know, I get these fucking retards in my car. Oh, you cool and your Uncle Tom, all this other bullshit, and it's like, no, we're just fucking tired of you guys. You guys are fucking retarded. You guys commit too much goddamn crime. And like we gotta have a conversation here. Like let's be honest, the average black IQ is 85, right? That's a fact. They committed ridiculous amount of crime in proportion to their population size. We're talking about 13% of the population, about half of that is men, right? 6-7%, and they're committing like almost half the fucking violent crime. This is ridiculous. Like we gotta what's going on here? But no one wants to like deal with the elephant in the room. It's like, oh, that's racist, that's fucked up, blah blah blah. And to acknowledge it or to talk about it is like a big deal, right? And like when the whole Carmelo Anthony thing happened, I think it woke a lot of people up. And then Irina Zarutska. And then let's be fair here. It's not just them killing white people. It's like they're also killing other black people.
Yeah,
like there was a black woman that got killed on a train in Atlanta somewhere. I forget her name. She was a grandma. Like she had kids and stuff like that. And it's a fucking crazy person. Black dude. Slash her throat. Just like Irina Zarutska. Same exact thing. So it's like, what the fuck is going on here? Because let's be honest, like, you know, if the black people like were to galvanize and get against this, let's be honest, these people are killing black people. What the fuck are you doing? Like, if you're a black person and you're going to be a victim of violent crime, there's a 90% chance they're going to look like you.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So it's like,
well, and not only that, but think about what would happen if in the South Side of Chicago all of a sudden there was no crime. It would be a real estate boom.
Yeah.
Like, immediately, it would be in every way. It would be better. Like, this is why the city is uninhabitable. It's because nobody wants to go there because of the crime. The cops don't want to go there, so consequently, there's no law and order. If there's no law and order, who wants to put money there? I mean, you drive through the ghetto in Chicago, which I do from time to time. Everything's boarded up. Every restaurant you go into, it's like a bank. You go into a Popeyes, and it's like you got to slide the money through the slot or whatever. You know, and what's more, there's no investment. Nobody wants to put an ATM in Chicago anymore. You put an ATM in any restaurant, any place in the city, and black people are gonna go throw a chain around it and drive it through the front door on the back of a pickup truck. So it's like, you know, I just think
to the city? Do you even go? I mean, I haven't been to Chicago since 2015. I don't know what it's like now. It's probably filled with monkeys. But like, how crazy is it now, dude? Like, do you even go into the city anymore?
You know, it's not. It was really bad a couple of years ago.
Black
and
mayor, right?
It's less bad. Yeah. Brandon Johnson, he's terrible. But what they're doing now is these teen takeovers. Now these plaques, they plan.
They're doing that there too?
Oh, yeah.
They're doing them here in Florida.
Yeah, I've seen that.
In Tampa, they're doing it. Yeah, bro. Oh,
they do it in Chicago.
Jacksonville.
And they do it in the suburbs. They do it out in Naperville, which is like probably 25 miles outside the city, and they take over these little suburban towns, and they're twerking on the cars and mugging people, and then somebody shoots, they all scream and scatter in every direction, and Brandon Johnson goes, well, they ain't no Al Capone, they not gangsters, these are kids. It's like, bro, they're shooting people.
Yeah, they actually are gangsters.
Yeah, they bring guns, they shoot people, they mug people, and it's just sad. And now, not only is it in the South Side, but because the stuff is bleeding into the downtown, it's killing the downtown. Just this week, I think it was Lou Malnati's, which is one of the big deep dish pizza chains. They're leaving the center of the city, the center of downtown, closing up shop.
Chicago deep dish pizza. Live in Chicago.
Water Tower Place, Mag Mile, Lou Malnati's, Lululemon, all the big businesses that are like the central shopping district, State Street, Michigan Ave, they're all gone. It's like a ghost town because it smells like pot. It's teen takeovers. It's shootings. They're stealing cars and driving them through the front of a store. It's ruining the whole fucking city. So you literally just need a mayor. It's like, I don't care if you are a communist. Just kill all the criminals. Kill or arrest all the criminals. Let's just get our city back because you can't live like this.
I knew it was bad when I saw them kill FBG Duck in the what's that? What's it called? The Gold Coast or something like that? Is that what it's called? The shopping center?
Yeah.
No, they walked up on him daytime, bro. And they just shot him up. I was like, yo, this city's crazy, bro. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I think we need to bring torturing back. Honestly,
I would love to see it.
I think we need to bring torturing back, dude.
These people are predators. They are opportunists and predators, and they're literally just holding the whole city hostage, ruining it for everybody. Even back where I grew up. Small suburb outside of the city called Countryside. there was a high-speed chase. They tried to rob one of these little salons, or what do they call them? They have, like, in Illinois, everything's got a fucking slot machine now. They had one of these places
I have to
with,
pull
like,
this up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's crazy. This one wasn't black, though.
Yeah, it was a Jew.
Yeah.
But no, sorry. Finish what you were saying that it will.
And even in one of these small towns outside where I grew up, they're doing another, Grand Theft Auto, high-speed chase, whatever. So it's just nowhere in Chicago are you safe from this stuff. It's lawless.
Now, this clip right here is awesome. It was so funny when I saw this thing, and obviously this was a tough time, dude, because like you know, generational run, people, the death threats and everything else like that. Because I remember it was right after your body, our choice, right? After everyone lost their fucking minds over that comment. And, decided to show. yeah, they really said that shit, I know. Your body, our choice, which was hilarious. And then obviously all the libs went nuts and stuff like that. And this fucking weird Jewish lady shows up at your house. And you were getting death threats. And, I remember I was on a Twitter space with you. And, like, you had mentioned, like, someone tried to bomb your mailbox.
Yeah.
Can you tell them about that story? Because, like, I don't think people understand, like, your mind state when this was going on, dude. They think this guy just, like, what's going on? Dude, you're getting like all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, I forgot about that one actually. Well, because
it stuck out to me because I was like, oh shit, that was who was it? Postal inspectors that contacted you?
Yeah, I think it was somebody
or FBI.
It was the cops working with the FBI.
Okay.
Yeah, so the whole Your Body, My Choice, that was on election night, and so that was a Tuesday. So over the course of the week, it just kept mounting and escalating, and people were posting my docs everywhere. And that Friday after the election, I was getting ready to do my show. I did a stream with Richard Spencer before the show. Okay. And during the stream, some nut job showed up to the place, checking the doorknob, walked through my gangway into the backyard, and walked away. And I got really spooked because that had never happened before. And so I said, let's just cancel the show. And then literally throughout the night, people just kept coming and throwing eggs at the house and sending pizzas and delivery stuff and whatever. And it went on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Probably it was like, I think we counted, it was over 100 people showed up to my house in this 48-hour, 72-hour period. Marla Rose came, that Jewish woman. And, I don't even know if I should say this because she's trying to sue me. I can't really talk too much about that. But, she came up to stabs. I took control of her body briefly. Then I returned control back to her.
You can play it real quick. Yeah, this shit was hilarious, bro. Yeah, honestly, dude, I looked at this. When this shit came out, I was like, yo, this is self-defense. This bitch showed up to his house. Like, what the hell? Like, I get it. Like, you ended up just, like, doing a plea deal, whatever, because it's, like, not worth the time. And
I did a deferred prosecution, and then they dropped it.
Oh, nice. So they dropped it.
They dropped it. She dropped the charges. She got mad.
Okay.
Because she said, what the fuck? He's getting 15 continuances. He hasn't even done his community service, so they just dropped it.
Nice. Because, dude, like, in my mind, I was like, this is fucking self-defense. And then, like, what's important, like, because shout out to Andrew Branca. He talked about this when he comes, like, to state of mind and self-defense. Like, what matters is, like, what was going on in your mind at the time.
Yes.
And I would say people showing up at your house, they try to fucking kill you. You had to tell them the story about the bomb. You got to tell them about this. Because no one knows about this. People think, like, oh, this guy's just acting erratically. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I don't remember if that was before or after. It was sometime during that period, and I got a call really late at night, like 2 a.m. from the local police, and they said, hey, Nick, we got a tip from the FBI. Like, we can't say too much about it. They said, but we need to look in your mailbox. They said, we can't say anything more. But we got a threat, and so we just need to check it out. They said, so we're out here, and I go outside, and there's like 10 cop cars up and down the block, and they literally had a guy with a blast shield, like in Call of Duty, like a straight-up blast shield, come in with my key and open my mailbox because they thought there was a bomb in my mail. And at that time, that was happening to everybody. I think it happened to Marjorie Greene. It happened to some of the other government officials. This was like a serial thing where they were just doing these bomb threats against everybody. And so I remember literally crouching behind the cop car on my street, like with my ears plugged, waiting for my fucking house to blow up. So it was like, yeah, the guy tried to shoot me. They tried to blow up my mailbox. This bitch tried to show up. And, yeah, so that was a crazy time.
Holy shit. So, like, they brought the bomb squad out at your house.
Straight up bomb squad, yeah.
Holy shit, man. That's like, and then people think like, oh, this guy just shoved this girl. So mean. Like, it's like, no, dude. We've got to play it though, real quick. This is fucking
the Battle
hilarious.
of Berwyn.
This is so it just so fucking weird. Shows up. Oh, hey, what's up?
Hi. Oh my God! What are you doing?
Yeah, rewind it. I gotta do that shit again, bro. Yeah, whole staff in the back laughing. Yeah. Mo's dying right now, bro.
Oh my
Yo.
God. What are you doing?
Hey, yo. No. Fucking deserve, bro. That fucking deserve, bro. That shit's hilarious. Literally, throw the Jew down the well. All right, man. Yo, man. All right, we'll wrap it up. We had to finish on that one. We're gonna do after hours here in a second, guys. But real quick, Nick, where can the people find you?
I'm on Rumble at Nick J. Fuentes, and I'm on X at Nick J. Fuentes as well.
Guys, make sure to follow him, man. Good friend of mine. Go check him out. We're gonna be back on with some lovely ladies here in a little bit, and we'll see you guys in about 20, 30 minutes. Okay, guys? Love you, ninjas. Peace.
I ran so far away. I just ran. I ran all night and day. Couldn't get
He said, I just don't believe him. Does anyone believe him?
It's like Ralph status. It's like Ralph level. Like I'm gonna ruin your life, bitch.
And I already have a list of people, and I'm going to go one by one, and I'm going to fuck your shit up.
By the way, is it crossing him when he has the mental break?